Nice. Edge. After Dark. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Midnight's Edge After Dark. How's it going? Of course, your narrator speaking, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo. On today's show, looks like there is a more powerful Avenger than Captain Marvel. The next generation, as we knew it, is gone, or so says Patrick Stewart. And what else we got to talk about? I don't even know.
AI is taking over Hollywood.
That's right. We knew it had to happen. They finally outsourced probably some of the more useless jobs in Hollywood.
Well, they are now writing. Yeah. They ain't got shit writers anymore, might as well.
Pretty much. We proved that they're writing. Didn't we? With that one sketch we did. With us as always, Mr. Tom Connors.
Good Wednesday night.
And the bespectacled, bearded, long-haired gentleman is Michael J. Crawford, the anti-trekker.
Yes, revealing my Klingon garb today just because, why not? Kapla.
Kapla, Jerry! Kapla!
Kapla!
Kapla, Jerry! And, of course, we are joined by your favorite YouTube harpy.
Who's hiding from dinner right now.
She has an Emmy, an ESPY, a Tony, a Grammy, a BAFTA, a BAMI. She is an OBE and an Earl, which makes her an earlobe. She's a SAG, a Tony. If you have a SAG, is it called a SAGgy?
You calling me saggy?
She's a BA. She's a BA, she's a BA, a BS, an MBA, DDS, MD, PhD.
And some people are not watching
chef.
all of my videos.
You found out, didn't you? No. Miss Mecca Random. How do you know I'm tuning out?
I know.
Yes. Yes.
What? All right. What should we get to first?
Bite my shiny metal ass.
Oh man,
We got some super chats already, boy.
we do.
We do.
Right. We do.
Let me see here.
Oh yeah,
Matt G.
Matt G. Happy birthday, David Bowie and Elvis. Thoughts on them? Love David Bowie. Freaking love.
Well, there's one for the money, and it's two for the show.
You know,
Get ready.
whenever I think of Elvis, I know a lot of people think of like classic, rock and roll. But for me, honestly, I just think of those really stupid movies that he was in.
We're gonna win this race.
Yeah, exactly. Lemonade. Cool, refreshing drink.
That cool, refreshing drink.
But yeah, that's all I think of with Elvis, and I think it's because a lot of those stupid Elvis movies were very popular when I was a kid. So, so that's what I saw more of was the movies than the music.
Well, yeah, they were always on. They were always on television.
Yeah, constantly, and it was, I was like, this is the guy that everybody calls the king. Okay, whatever.
Up next is our Saturday afternoon movie, Clam Bake.
I go to clam bake. Mm-hmm. They literally put him in movies about everything. This one's about seafood, for fuck's sake.
It's just Elvis was cool though. Elvis was cool, but sadly, I tend to remember more the fat sequin jumpsuit wearing Elvis.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's the only Elvis that was around when I was a kid because I missed the young, hip Elvis.
When they brought back the Twilight Zone a number of years ago, there was a storyline. Guy went back in time. He wanted to meet Elvis, and then he accidentally kills Elvis, and then he has to become Elvis to make sure history turns out all right. and he just fell. Years later, he's in a hotel room overlooking the strip. I did it all. I did the movies. I did the TV.
Wasn't that a plot of one of the episodes of Quantum Leap too?
Probably. Yeah. Well, yeah. That Sam had to be.
He didn't die, but I mean, same kind of, Yeah.
Well, in the recent movie Yesterday, where the dude like wakes up one day and the Beatles never existed, so he starts like plagiarizing all their songs.
Yeah, which I have, and I haven't watched yet. Rob saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I saw. I had got invited to a special preview. The only time I've ever gotten a freebie for a movie. Actually, no. Scratch that. I did get a freebie. I did get a special advance screening to Backbeat back in 1994.
And Deadpool 2.
And Deadpool 2. No, well, it was already out, but I got private screening.
Yeah, but you still got to see it for free.
Yeah, my brother Dave's liquor company. The tequila they sell, Espolon tequila. They actually had some product placement in it.
You know, it's almost perfect that your brother Dave works for a liquor company. That would work out perfectly in the show. And then better yet, though, in the show, we got to make it his own liquor company that is failing. Like it's a beer that nobody wants to drink or something.
Like Billy Beer was back in the
day.
I still have a couple cans of that lying around somewhere.
But yeah, that's the gimmick. We gotta write that down. Anyway, Matt G sent us another $2. Congrats on 160 subs. Well, we only got like 15,000 here, so he must be in the main channel. Well, thank you. And when's the celebration stream? I'm not sure. Andre has mentioned it a few times, but he has been so busy with the holidays and everything going on and keeping the wife happy and all that good stuff that I'm not sure.
You have 30 seconds.
But hopefully soon. And we also have another one from our good friend who always seems to, we got another one after that too now, who always seems to drop one when Annie Trekker's here. Bird of Prey with $2. Cisco is better than Picard will ever be BDC. Siskel is not better than Picard, but
Siskel's not even better than Ebert.
No, I don't know about that.
Siskel is my favorite captain.
Well, speaking
Siskel, I always like Ebert better than Siskel. He always seemed to have more of a touch.
Yeah, speaking of Deep Space Nine is going to start airing on BBC America. So if you have BBC America on your cable system, you're in luck.
Why? I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Deep Space Nine, but why? There's nothing British about Deep Space Nine.
Actually, no. The guy who plays Bashir.
Yeah, but come on. Now
but it's not made by the BBC. That's why I would get BBC America. Right,
but I mean, BBC. Does that mean they're going to start putting Spider-Man on the BBC because Tom Holland is English? I mean, come on.
Well, BBC America has been trying to branch out into more quote unquote diverse types of programming. By not having a lot of stuff that's exclusively British. The Patriot,
which is bullshit. That's bullshit, though. Like, I want to see the British shows. I subscribe if I'm going and paying for cable. Exactly. I want to see that specific thing. It's like watching fucking Ghost Adventures on the fucking Sci-Fi Channel. That's what's the problem. That's why television started sucking. That's why I got rid of it.
Yeah, that exactly. I don't tune into the BBC to see American programming. I tune into the BBC to watch British programming. And I can understand why they might put Star Trek The Next Generation on there just because Patrick Stewart is a British icon. But, same thing like if they put James Bond movies on, even though they're technically American films. But when they're sitting there putting, there's this one actor on the show that's English, so we can put him. No, sorry.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for agreeing with me.
No, sir.
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds till what?
Yeah.
Go play Ultimate Frisbee.
Did you get
leave politics to the adults.
Did you get the super chat, Rob? Daryl Brewer, disability card at Annie Trucker? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, $2.
Okay.
Super chat. Brewer.
Hey, Anna, how you doing?
Hey, Anna, how's it going? I'm triggered by this
title.
We're sorry.
Well, yeah. Why does the title have Picard is better than Kirk ? In it?
I guess you'll just have to wait till we get to that part, huh?
Well, I say we get to that part.
Well, we could.
Well, there's
We could do that first.
a piece on Siffy.com. We all know it's Siffy now, not sci-fi. Siffy.com.
Yeah, that was a good reason to do that, whatever it was. I think it was so they could copyright it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
Siffy has a piece. What's that?
So it says the best Star Trek captain is Captain Picard, and it identifies the moment when Picard became the more important than Kirk in Star Trek history. Now we can only,
according to
let's find out.
Never is the right answer, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's this is totally bogus. So I'm
I
sorry.
love
it's just a
Picard. Don't
bullshit.
get me wrong, but
It's just a bullshit marketing article just to try and fluff up this series that's going to be Orange Man bad in space.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. Unfortunately, as much as I want to argue with you on that, Mecca, that recent article I saw about Picard or about Patrick Stewart being all excited because they're inserting Trump politics into it, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible.
so in other words,
I've been saying this for the past year.
I know you have,
yeah,
but
we
you know
have
what?
too, yeah.
And you know me though, I'm the kind of guy that's like, hey, I'll watch it and I'll make up my mind when I see it. That article though, I wish, Thomas Potts sent it to me today, and it's like I read that article and I just collapsed in my chair. I was like, oh my God, if this is true, it's over.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well start with this one since we're bringing it up. But yeah.
Well, yeah, where's the other article where they're like, it's Orange Man bad in space?
Yeah, well, we've been saying Orange Man mad in space because we said, there's that whole like immigration allegory and all that kind of stuff going on. And of course, the whole show is just going to be Picard running around going, "You're fired! You're fired! You're fired! Who's next?"
Well, apparently, from what that article said, Picard, the reason he's no longer in Starfleet is because Starfleet is corrupted, just like how the American government is corrupted under the Trump regime.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what I was saying about that's exactly like Michael Chabon brings this Trump derangement syndrome into everything he does. That's all his Instagram is. That's all he talks about. This is why I don't trust this bullshit for 1 second. And I'm not going to support it or talk about it on my channel if they're going to just insult me and use me for a hate click.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go party my nose clean off my face.
That's we're getting a feeling that Picard really just wants to have a good time on this show.
Yeah.
All right. In all fair, we have to say that sci-fi channel is owned by NBC, Comcast Universal. I'm not sure who owns Sci-Fi Wire, but credit CBS Paramount. Okay, well that's all right. Who's
NBC Universal?
Probably NBC Interactive, probably Universal Interactive. Who's the most popular Star Trek captain of all time? This is the age-old and extremely fraught, tricky debate has arguably been settled. The impending release of Star Trek Picard seems to prove that, overwhelmingly, fans love Jean-Luc Picard more than any other captain ever. Yes, hardcore Trekkies will tell you they celebrate all captains equally, even Scott Bakula. That's a lie.
Yeah, no Trek. You see, that's right there. That tells me that whoever wrote this article doesn't know jack about the Star Trek community, because every Star Trek fan, I mean, we talk about it because my channel is almost exclusively Star Trek content, and every single live stream, we end up having some kind of debate over which captain is better. Well, so every Star Trek fan has their opinion of who the best captain is, and there are plenty in the Picard camp. There's plenty in the Kirk camp. There's a lot more than people give credit for in the Cisco camp, and then a significant number in the Janeway and Archer camps. But yeah, the only person nobody ever says, except for Lore Reloaded, I'm not making that up. He's the one exception. Nobody says Lorca except Lore Reloaded. He actually said Lorca was the best captain, but
he's bad.
He put up a video like a year ago about the top 5 captains in Star Trek, and he put Lorca as number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right, folks. I'm bad mouthing Lore Reloaded here, although he is a friend of mine. He said Lorca is the best captain. However,
he deserves it if he says Lorca's the best captain, because Lorca's not even a captain. He's a bad guy.
He's a universe captain.
You never got to see the real one.
Death to Kuroga. He is Lord Riot is leader of Kuroga, isn't he?
No. Bird of Prey is the leader of Kuroga.
Ah, damn it. Anyway.
But they're easily confused. It's okay because both of them have very similar singing voices.
All right. All hail Turkestan.
Thank you.
So, okay. Okay. Well, continuing on.
That's like saying Jefferson Davis was the best president ever. But anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, anyway, the fellow who wrote this is named Ryan Britt. He continues. We love Picard a lot, and surely we love him more than Captain James T. Kirk. This wasn't always the case, but we're living in a Picard first world for a long time now. Here's when it happened. In 1994, Captain Kirk famously gave Captain Picard a speech about making sure his successor...
Making omelets? You know, the trick to making omelets is milk. I don't care. I need to fix things. We're in the Nexus. Come on, you fat-ass fuck. Let's move.
But I've got to go have sex with Antonia.
But I'm going to go have sex with my wife I never married. We're going to make babies.
Well, anyway, make sure to remain Starship Captain for as long as possible. Because, according to Kirk, if you're sitting in a big chair, making it so, you can still make a difference. This scene happens in Star Trek Generations, a 1994 movie that is either the first feature film with the TNG cast or the final movie to connect the original series.
It is considered one of the worst Star Trek movies ever.
I know. Generations is almost universally hated by the Trekkies and Trekkers. That's because it's just such a boring movie.
The only reason it was conceived was to try to have Picard and Kirk meet. That's the only reason.
Yeah, the entire movie was just an excuse for that scene, and that scene wasn't worth the wait. You know,
the way to the bridge. You know,
if you were going to have Picard and Kirk meet in a movie, it should have been the most epic moment in Trek history, and instead they're making omelets and talking about girlfriends. You know, that's
of course.
What I said.
but yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I know that there are definitely differences of opinion as far as who the best captain is, but I would still say that most people would say, I mean, because Kirk is the one who kicked off the franchise. Kirk is the prototype. Kirk is the one that everyone else has to live up to. Kirk is the captain of Star Trek, and so Picard is a great guy. Sisko is awesome. Janeway is interesting, and Scott Bakula was on the series somewhere. But but everybody, Kirk is Trek, and so I'm sorry that this article is clearly written by someone who doesn't know jack about Trek.
What's funny is, remember when they used to try and distance themselves from Enterprise?
Mm-hmm. Now Enterprise is pretty good.
That's all I'm gonna say. I mean,
Ash, that bastard $2. I'd accept Picard, Sisko on par with Kirk, not best. Oh, that's fair. But let's continue on.
Well, whether Kirk or Picard is your favorite is one thing. That's a personal choice. But I mean, this article is just nothing but nonsense.
Right. Yeah. And the funny thing is that I'm sorry. First of all, Kirk starred. William Shatner's Kirk starred in 6 movies. Then Picard was in 4, and then Chris Pine's Kirk was in 3 more. And you want to tell me Picard is the biggest? No. Nobody talked about bringing back Picard with a new younger actor. No. Nobody.
Well, let's ask him. Let's get himself. Old man Picard. Did they ever talk about bring back your character with a younger actor? Way to be on top of things, Tom.
Well, old man Picard is dead, so I guess that's it for the show.
Okay, old man Picard he's taking a powder. He's apparently. Let's see, old man Picard. Did they ever talk that about with you?
Yes.
About what?
About bringing back your character with a younger actor.
Oh, I always want to do things with younger actresses.
No.
What?
About having a younger actor play Jean-Luc Picard.
Who would ever do such a stupid thing?
Well, Alex Kurtzman would do such a thing.
Well, of course he would. That's because he's a stupid idiot. We don't tell him to his face.
No, you don't. No. As long as would that younger actor drive a dune buggy?
No, not as good as me.
Oh, of course not. No, of course. Oh, thank you, old man Picard. Okay, well, anyway. All right. It's in this moment to which this headline refers, but it's also largely a formality. By 1984, the debate Picard was pretty much over. Picard had already won it. This is hard for some people to believe, but in the early 90s, characters from Star Trek Next Generation were much more popular than any Marvel superhero or Star Wars alien.
I resent that. I drink just enough to get drunk every single day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know, I remember all the kids running around. I want to be Riker. Oh, wait, no, that didn't happen.
If you looked at this from the perspective of action figures for sale at Target, who was constantly on the cover of TV Guide, TNG was the coolest and most popular nerd thing around, which is why it makes sense that in 1992, a TV Guide readers poll voted Patrick Stewart the sexiest man on TV.
It was also on for 5 more years, too, in syndication. And they only got 4 movies, so go figure.
Yeah, because they sucked in comparison.
Well, in 1993, a similar TV Guide readers poll crowned Stewart with the most 90s compliment ever, most bodacious man on TV.
You know,
bodacious.
Here's the thing, and I'm sorry, I got to point this out, and you guys know I'm a diehard Trekkie, have been my whole life. So the worst statement about this whole article so far is the idea that Star Trek: The Next Generation was ever considered cool. It was never cool to watch Star Trek: The Next Generation.
No, this is for like chess club kids, and you know, the Star Trek is a nerd show.
But that's my point. Like the chess club kids were not the cool kids.
Let's put it this way: the Star Wars kids would make fun of the Star Trek kids.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We were definitely at the bottom of the food chain. Like the bullying, was like, the Star Wars kids would dump the trash on the Star Trek kids to try and show the jocks not to throw the trash on them.
Well, and it just happened to be lucky that Star Wars was like so universally beloved that usually you could get somebody on your side by saying, well, at least I like Star Wars. They like that stupid Star Trek stuff. Oh, you like that, you geek?
Daryl, I want to use the Force. Han Solo, guys. I like him. The Force is awesome.
Daryl Brewer, $65. I would say yesterday's. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, well, you can take it. Don't.
I didn't know if you had it up. I would say yesterday's Enterprise Picard might have been equal to Kirk if there more story to it, but Kirk is the better in my opinion. Well, here's my thing. I think that Picard is the better probably captain per se, as far as like handling things in a captainly way, if that's a word. If not, I just made it up. But Kirk's the better hero. Like he's the more how do I put this? Picard's always about following the rules and going by the book normally. Kirk is how can I get around the rules and rewrite the book?
Yeah.
But actually, here's the thing. First of all, I think that's an unfair assessment of Kirk because Kirk,
to a point, maybe, I guess.
Here's the thing. Picard was a by-the-book captain. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. Kirk was a by-the-book unless it's morally wrong. Kirk would not. There are episodes, if you look at the original Trek, when they talk about the Prime Directive, Kirk was big supporter of the Prime Directive, except for when it was morally wrong to be so. And so where Picard would stick with the Prime Directive even when it was morally abhorrent, because that's the rules. Where Kirk would say, no, this doesn't count because these people are going to die if we go by the Prime Directive, so we're going to break it. That's now the other thing is, and Darren Wagner mentioned this earlier, and Darren is definitely the expert on this stuff because
I guess we missed a super chat of his. There we go. There it is.
Yeah. And Darren was a submariner for years, so he actually lived this type of lifestyle for a while. And one thing that he would say, and I agree with him, is that Picard is a better peacetime captain. Kirk is a better captain during a Cold War or even a shooting war.
All right, that's probably fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Kirk is the guy you want leading a fleet into battle. Picard is the guy you want going on the diplomatic mission.
Mm-hmm.
Darren Wagner,
a good example.
Yeah.
Darren Wagner.
I
definitely
get a little worked up on that stuff. So sorry for.
That's okay. Well, a good example of what you're saying is a private little war where Kirk has to violate the Prime Directive in order to,
because the Klingons are doing it.
Yeah, we have to maintain that balance of power.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is it's a quite unveiled look at, thinly veiled look at Vietnam.
Right. Well, in that episode, they actually mention Vietnam. They just don't call it by name. They say the Bush Wars of the 20th century.
Yeah. What was that? What do you want, Captain? More Satan's or the Garden of Eden? Yeah. So. Okay. So anyway, this guy Ryan
Darren Wagner.
I'm skipping down
earlier.
So
he says I would definitely put Archer ahead of Janeway. Well, I mean, I don't know. I like Archer, but that's just because of who he is.
Now, so Matt G says, and he says that situation where Kirk had 2 other captains and a bunch of commanders during the later movies would never happen with Picard. Well, that's another thing. You see, people don't understand how the Navy works, because being the captain of a ship doesn't mean your rank is captain. It's common that you are. So Kirk is a captain and he's the commander of the Enterprise. But being the captain of a ship is a position, not a rank. And so the fact that by the end of the Star Trek films, Kirk, Spock, and Scotty were all captains is meaningless. That's not a negative. It just means that Spock and Scotty both excelled in their fields enough to get promoted to captain. And as far as everybody else being commanders, well, they've all been in the service for a very long time and they've all served with distinction. So having a bunch of really high-ranking officers is not a negative. It's a very positive thing, and it shows that Kirk is surrounded by the best crew in Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I know I'm nerding out a bit. I apologize.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
I go put my pocket protector away.
I'm reading this. I'm losing the will to live.
Yeah.
So
well, that's the thing. Yeah, the articles like this are just like so bad. It triggers me.
So, anyways, he says, so the reason why Picard became more popular than Kirk in the 90s is because Picard, as expertly played by Stewart, had this cool as a cucumber Spockish persona mashed up with a dash of Kirk's bravado, minus the chauvinism.
Okay. So it's all about
article.
The feminist angle.
It's not chauvinism to be appreciative of the female form.
And I'm sorry, Riker got more action than Kirk.
Oh yeah. Okay. How many woke points does this guy want? How many woke points is he fishing for?
Is it a guy or is it who wrote it? Who wrote it? What do they look like?
Guy named Ryan. Oh, he's got the typical beard with the
glasses, beard. Looks like the Ethan McIver's boy sketch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Grow a personality, whoever wrote this, and maybe do some research. Ask me. I could have told you all of this.
Back in the day, Kirk people like to say Picard wasn't brave or he didn't kick enough ass, but the truth is Picard kicks ass TG all the time. He just doesn't throw as many punches as Kirk, and that's mostly because he doesn't need to. He's just that good. No, because there was that one episode in because he's older and he's more experienced, he knows how to avoid a confrontation. That's the thing. Remember when that episode where Worf was put on trial for his father's crimes?
Mm-hmm.
And he named Kirk the Kadich. He says, Mr. Worf, I'm flattered and honored that you've selected me, but couldn't you have chosen someone a bit more, quite frankly, younger? He knew his limitations.
Right.
Yeah.
Until the movies, when all of a sudden he's freaking John McClane.
Yeah. Ever since the 90s, we've been living in the status quo of Picard being the people's captain. Yes, in 2009, when J.J. Abrams' Star Trek reboot happened, it felt like we were going to revert to a world which Kirk, played by Chris Pine, was the most popular Star Trek captain, but it didn't last. For all their virtues, the reboot films have connected with the fandom the same way the various TV series have. And the proof is that after Star Trek Discovery rebooted another classic captain, Christopher Pike, the next logical move was to bring back the Trek captain everyone really wanted to see. The reason why Jean-Luc Picard
Wait, William Shatner's coming back? I mean, oh, go ahead.
I know. The reason why Jean-Luc Picard is back is partially because Patrick Stewart wanted to play him, because the writers and creators of contemporary Star Trek are very savvy. But the reason why we're all so pumped for Picard because really he never stopped being our captain. In the 90s, Patrick Stewart proved that a male space hero didn't need to be sexist or overtly violent to be awesome. And for that reason alone, Picard remains sexy. I love this word, relevant, and more popular than ever. It's not confusing that he's making it so. Again, it's just strange it took this long. Relevant means relevant is one of those words.
Relevant means agrees with the politics of the writer of the article,
which is dumb as hell, because guess what? You passed over a woman and a black guy to pick a white guy.
Yeah.
Dumbasses.
And I'm sorry,
they're just bad at being woke too. It's as bad as Discovery is representation. They're terrible at representation.
Yes,
because you got a bunch of dumbasses running the show, in my opinion.
What I do think is really relevant about Picard is the idea that a Frenchman would have an English accent.
Oh, they fucked that up from the start. Let's not even get into that.
Well, in 2273, the British just said, "That's it, we're tired of you."
Yeah,
and stormed across the English Channel. Nelson Charetta, $2 super chat. Kirk broke rules. Cisco in the Pale Moonlight, #1.
I'll just I like the Pale Moonlight. I think it's a great episode of Deep Space Nine, but the difference between the way Kirk breaks rules and when Cisco doesn't break rules often, but Pale Moonlight he actually didn't break the rules in Pale Moonlight. He got permission from Starfleet to go forward with the plan, and so he just didn't know about Garrick's little plan to kill the guy. But Cisco did not break the rules. He got permission to do that.
Matt G sent us another $5, Rob.
Matt G, $5. I think Shatner and Stewart's outside projects influence these sometimes. Picard is Professor X, and Shatner has his songs and various acclaimed roles. Yes, like Incubus.
Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Have you not seen Kingdom of the Spiders?
I have.
Yeah, see, awesome.
Come on, Airplane the sequel.
Yeah.
I know. That pisses me off. That still pisses me off. Don't even remind me. I bought the Blu-ray for the first one, and then, of course, I opened the movie, and then, not even a week later, I see the first and second one together for, the same price. I was so pissed. I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't even know the second one was on Blu-ray. Darren Wagner sent us another $5. Thank you so much, guys, with all the love tonight.
Yes, this article writer knows as much about Star Trek as he does about fornicating. He's one of the guys that used to go to Lilith Fair and say, "Yes, I really love Annie DeFranco. She makes me feel so in touch with the issues that are affecting women today."
Or you mean the guy who shows up at Lilith Fair thinking he's going to get laid?
Yeah.
The problem with Annie DeFranco music is that she's way more acclaimed than she deserves, and she makes me annoyed that I didn't have a recording career in the 90s. Really pissed off because all the garbage that got signed. You kidding me? Ugh, sorry.
I couldn't even get an audition with any bands that I knew in the 90s. They would all say to me, "We don't know who you are, man." I said, "Yeah, well, that's good. New face, new energy, new ideas." "Nah, man, but this other guy, he's been in 10 other bands." Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, but they've gone nowhere."
And he only knows 3 chords.
He's
he's an asshole, and he got kicked out of all of them.
Yeah, but he's good looking, and he brings the chicks in.
But he's like a proven failure.
Dash fat bastard. Sending some more love our way.
P's big now because our numbers are down. Even fans pass away. Yeah, well, unfortunately, like I said, they want the switched on people that shop at Whole Foods. And as I said, the kids who buy nothing but shit on Amazon on their iPhones. and
They don't care. They know Picard from the facepalm meme. That's all they know him from.
That's how I shop.
Well, but you're not living in an overpriced studio apartment in Williamsburg.
No, that's true. I'm living in an overpriced house, I guess.
Riding a penny farthing to an office somewhere because
living in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I swear to God, that's these assholes in Brooklyn, these Brooklynites. They ride a bike once a week to an office because they're a freelance graphic designer, and they dress like a lumberjack, and they live 100 miles from the nearest tree, and you don't even have the upper body strength to lift an axe, let alone use it. Like, that's who they think Star Trek is going to appeal to, and Star Wars. It's not. You should have got, instead of saying, hey, the Gen Xers are going to turn their kids on to Star Trek and Star Wars. No, they think there's this mystical audience out there. There isn't.
Well, that's why they're trying to make it Orange Man bad in space, to appeal to the people who care more about politics than entertainment and just want to insert their bullshit into everything.
Well, the problem, and I mean, we know this, but the people in Hollywood don't seem to understand, is that basing your franchise around Orange Man bad is not going to give you an audience.
No,
it's simply, there are your rank and file Democrats, your rank and file Republicans that really, for the most part, are ignorant of politics. And then you have your people that actually follow politics. They may have an opinion one way or the other, but they're not like hate mongers and stuff. And then you have your right wing and left wing activists. And so the left wing activists are the Orange Man bad crowd, of course. And so they're the only ones you're appealing to with this crap. And so the problem is that the Trekkies, yes, Star Trek has always leaned a little to the left, but at the same time, it's never been activist.
Preachy, yeah.
And so it's never been like the kind of crap we've gotten lit. Yeah. And so and most conservatives that are exposed to Trek up to this point like it, except for maybe some of the early TNG stuff, because that was kind of preachy. But now it's like they're basing all, the Hollywood is just doing this over and over and over, where they throw all their eggs in woke basket, thinking that that's like a gold mine or something. And then they are shocked. They're genuinely shocked when movies like Ghostbusters 2016 flop. They don't understand why Ocean's 8 isn't a smash hit. They really don't get it. They think, because they're so full of themselves, they think that everybody must think the way they are because they're the only sane people on the planet, and therefore everybody must think that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. And so as long as we put that in all our shows, everybody's going to flock to it. And it's like, even if everybody thought Orange Man bad, even if everybody in the United States had that opinion, guess what? Most people don't go to movies to see their political opinions reflected at them. They go to movies for escapist entertainment. And that's why the movies that Hollywood celebrates and gives all sorts of awards to are movies that nobody goes to see.
Yes. Yeah, that and the Weinsteins. We got 187 of you watching. That's 187. Murder that like button, please, and thank you. Only a few, you'll probably get that reference there. But anyway, yeah, so, you're not wrong, Annie Trekker. I mean, I hate saying it because I'm sure I'll piss a lot of people off. I'm not a fan of Trump, but I don't like this Orange Man bad shit shoved into every little fucking thing out there. So it's getting old, and we need to move on here soon. But
and here's the funny thing is that, like, Saturday Night Live, which used to be hilarious, right? In the last few years has been the ratings have sagged. And they can't figure out why. Well, I can tell you exactly why, because you look at a typical episode, the opener is always about Trump or someone in his administration screwing up. At least half the sketches are about Trump or his staff members, and half of the news segment is about Trump. And so it's just, the entire show is just based on hating Trump. Guess what happens? Eddie Murphy hosts the show, and they spend the entire show just bringing back classic Eddie Murphy characters like Mr. Robinson and Gumby and stuff. And it's the highest rated show they've had in years, and everybody's talking about how it's the most hilarious episode they've ever seen.
It was good. I wouldn't say it was great, but like you, I think I kind of know what you're getting to. And to use Eddie Murphy's cracker analogy, that's why it was so good, is because we're so used to so much junk out of Saturday Night Live,
right?
That we actually get a semi-decent episode, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well, and it felt like classic Saturday Night Live.
It did, but let's face it, you put it up against even some of the better episodes when Chris Farley and Sandler and Hartman and all those were in their prime. Even with Eddie Murphy, it's still not that great of an episode, but since it's been garbage for the last decade,
right? But even like that, like if you look at like when Will Ferrell and stuff, and
even Will Ferrell had some of his
right. So like Will Ferrell did a great George W. Bush, right? It was hilarious. Everybody remembers it, but what they don't remember is that he did George W. Bush maybe twice a month. Right. They didn't do George W. Bush in every episode, and they didn't focus in on politics all the time. And so the problem is that now it's like they just have to push this anti-Trump agenda continuously. And I roll my eyes over and over and over when I'm trying to enjoy, just show me a funny sketch. You don't have to.
Well, none of the people on the show now are funny. That's half the problem.
Oh, that is a big problem.
And they've always been political. You got to be fair about that.
Well, but here's the thing.
But
generally, they've made fun of both sides up until the last few years.
Well, the difference is this outside of, say, like Dana Carvey's original Bush and, like you said, Farrell's GW, there hasn't been like this oh my god thing like there was with Alec Baldwin at first, and that's why they latched onto it, because it was so popular at first. And and that's why I swear that baby movie that's why I swear that baby movie didn't tank, was simply because it was perfectly timed to ride off the success of that whole fucking thing.
But
if it came out 2 months later, nobody gave a shit.
The Alec Baldwin Trump is funny, but it's not funny if you do it every single week.
Exactly. That's my point. And that's what I was saying. If you'd release that baby movie 2 months later, nobody gave too much of a shit about it then. Mm-hmm. But it was everything was just it was like lightning in a bottle twice. You had the whole Alec Baldwin thing hit at the same time that fucking movie came out. And that's why that movie was one of the biggest animated movies of the year, or whatever, or the biggest animated movie of the year. Like I was saying, you release it 2 months before that or 2 months after that, nobody would have gave a shit.
Right.
Nelson Sharetta said it's another $2, Rob.
Fans want Picard from Star Trek Next Generation, not Picard from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. This is as far as you go, no further. But no, just to kind of go back to what you're saying about the whole political thing too, is it never used to be such a big part of the show, in a sense that like Chevy Chase wouldn't even go out of his way to look like Ford. He would just fall over all the time because that was the shtick.
Right.
They would run the shtick into the ground, and then they would need it again until the president would do something stupid, and then they'd do it again. Like you're right. Yeah. You're not totally wrong. James Stockdale, SNL did kind of die when Phil Hartman died, even though he had already left the show, but still.
But and speaking of like when Phil Hartman did Ronald Reagan, that wasn't
as popular, but it was all right.
But the thing is that politics was always an element, but it wasn't the element.
Yeah, right. It wasn't what the whole show clinched there.
Right. The purpose of the show was just to show silly sketches and a musical guest. And like with Trek, Trek has always had, like I said, a little bit of a left-leaning agenda, but it's never been so far to the left that conservatives can't enjoy it. And yet they're trying to push it further and further, and so far to the left that it's becoming where if you're not a card-carrying SJW, it's going to be hard to enjoy the Picard show, if that's what it looks like. And if that's the case, I'm going to be so depressed about that, because after the first 2 seasons of TNG, I really liked Picard. The first 2 seasons of TNG, I'm sorry, he was a preachy a-hole, but
I still like the first few seasons of the show, though. I don't know why people give it such a bad reputation, but
maybe it's because you're more liberal than me.
Maybe, but also I look at it like this: who doesn't want their show to get better? I mean, what if the first 3 seasons were the best seasons, and we'd be sitting here going, "Oh, they shouldn't have drug it out for another 5."
Well, yeah, and I'm thankful that the show improved, but I think that the first couple seasons were pretty bad, but that's neither here nor there. The problem is that now they're going to take Picard and make the first season of TNG look like he was a card-carrying Republican. And if they really take Picard to that extreme, the way that last interview with Patrick Stewart sounds like, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's kind of a segue to the next part, even though this isn't as big of I mean, we already kind of knew this, but there's more and more evidence just piling up that they're going to cross over Picard with STD in some fucking form or way. And it's just going to...
US,
what was that, Rob?
the USS Michael Burnham.
The USS Michael Burnham.
I'm telling you.
I don't think they're going to do that. You know why? Because the premise of this is that Starfleet is corrupt.
No, that's what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be setting up how Starfleet fell, why Mikey Spock needs to fix it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, though, that part of it is going to be, like, I think somewhere in Picard, you're going to have Picard say, you know, Starfleet has lost their moral compass. Remember Michael Burnham, you know, something like that.
Yes. If only we followed Michael Burnham. If only we listened to what Michael Burnham taught us.
We're not supposed to talk about her.
If only Michael Burnham was here, she would fix it.
She's persona non grata. We're not supposed to talk about her.
Well, from Andre conveyed this through the last video we did on the main channel. Sherry Redstone's apparently pissed.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, this sounds to me like, if anything, JJ's pushing Kurtzman to make sure that everything, to push everything together more and more to match up with Star Trek 09, which is more in line with STD, which will then make Picard in line with that, then syncing everything up for them to say, but, you know, it's still part of the universe, you know, even though Star Trek 4 is dead and they won't admit it.
You can't erase it. Look, it's all connected. It's all connected.
Exactly. That was what I was getting to, is they'll be like, oh, but it's still part of the canon. It's still part of the legacy. No, let us forget it. Let us forget the shit. Get us back to some regular good Trek. How hard is it? Really?
The problem is that honestly, what you need is for CBS, or now Viacom needs to hire someone that can grasp and honor the lore of Trek. I mean, that's all you need. You don't have to get some, you know, heavy duty Star Trek nerd like me to run just find somebody that's willing to examine Trek and see what made Trek successful, what made Trek fail. You know, where did Trek go right? Where did it go wrong? And then analyze that and build on what made Trek great. That's what, you know, that's what the MCU did with their movies, where they tried to build on what made their characters popular, and that's why they based most of their stories off stuff from the 70s and 80s. But what they're doing now is just saying, oh, screw it, we're going to throw all that away, because what the kids really want is heavy duty left-wing politics. Which makes no sense.
No, the whole point of it is if you're going to mix in some politics, it's so kids don't realize they're learning and adults don't realize they're being preached to. That was the way Trek always worked before. You know, that's how most sci-fi worked before. I mean, even if it was like a very heavy, you know, leaning one side or the other political kind of view, like look at like a movie like Logan's Run, for instance, which you could, you know, apply to many political, you know, different things. But, you know, but to move on from the whole thing a little bit, because we got some other things to cover, but
sorry.
No, that's fine. It is it's getting to a head. I mean, Picard's less than 2 weeks away or so, roughly.
Yeah. It's just tomorrow.
Oh God.
And who cares?
Well, that's
nobody cares.
The lead into Picard, isn't it?
And who
do
cares?
we have to watch it?
Yeah, you don't have to.
Let me see. Short Treks.
Darren Wagner with $2 says Picard will pass his torch to Michael Burnham. God, I hope not.
Come here, Michael. I got a torch for you.
You're the famous one we're not supposed to talk about. Well,
so how
here's my torch.
Know about her?
I know about her because I know everything. No, I don't know. Fuck it. Hey, yellow flash too.
But they don't. Oh boy.
Yeah, he says Picard is going to die in the end and become the ship. Well, that's kind of what Picard said. I say that girl's going to be his and the Queen Borg's daughter. And yeah, it's going to be a big bunch of bullshit.
I hope that they don't do that. That would be stupid.
They will, just because, and then that way they can, you know.
Well, why else do they have 7 of 9 and Hugh? I mean, if there's a Borg connection.
Well, I think the Borg connection could. Here's the thing: is that we know, if you've read the Countdown comic that came out before Star Trek 2009, we know that the Romulans were experimenting with Borg technology. The Narada, the ship that Nero took back in time, was enhanced with Borg technology from the Romulan military. And so I think that Borg cube you see in the trailers is a Romulan installation, that it's a Borg cube that the Romulans somehow managed to capture intact. And I think they're experimenting with Borg technology. I think they're trying to create their own drones so that they can fight the Klingons, the Federation and stuff on equal footing. And I think that all those bald guys you see is the Federation response, where they're trying to build a bunch of datas basically to be super soldiers. And Picard is trying to basically defuse this whole situation. And somehow the girl
You are thinking too much into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I'm giving them too much credit into thinking that they're actually trying.
Just like we did before Star Trek Discovery, you're definitely giving Kurtzman way too much credit.
Yeah, they're not that smart. They're just gonna throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. They're gonna
Just
go
like
for
Anson Ricky said here, yeah.
Yeah, what kind of action sequences can we throw in there, and then they'll kind of piece together some sort of dialogue to have in between.
Well, no, the
and
big thing
hope
though,
it turns into
yeah.
a story.
The
at
big
the
thing
end.
though is going to have to be making some connection with the past to the present. So they're going to make Picard the father of this fucking illegitimate child who the government wants, or the Starfleet wants, or whatever.
I
Yeah.
I just watched the preview for the new short trek. I think the girl from the new show is one of the girls in the trailer in the new short trek. And I think that's how they're setting it up, because she has the same color, granted with context, same color eyes, same dark hair look to her. The girl who is the key to everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Dex
Guy.
Luther's asking about the licensing issue. Oh boy. As far as I know, this is kind of covered in our last video. The license thing, if you recall from our big long ass video, is pretty complicated in the sense that they can do whatever they want with the classic Trek stuff. But if they create something new or make it at least 25% different, which is the quoted number we kept hearing, then they can make products of it and cash in on it through Bad Robot.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they weren't selling any of that merchandise, and they basically, through Bad Robot's idiocy, has killed the Trek brand for any kind of merchandising at all. The only thing that they can make any money on right now is classic stuff. So that's what they want to do. They want to make stuff as different as possible, but nobody's signing on for Picard to make any figures, make any. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be ships eventually, but that's about all they get anymore. Yeah, that's about all they get anymore. I mean, did you notice there's nothing for Star Trek Discovery? No figures.
No.
Nothing.
Well, they have that Hallmark figure with Mikey Spock.
Yeah, that's an ornament though. And Hallmark does ornaments for like everything. There's probably an Annie Trekker ornament out there with poop.
Well, Mecca, show everybody the Mikey Spock in action figure.
The in action figure with complete with 0 points of articulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's as close as you're gonna get right there. Now, granted, there was some statues and stuff, but I think a lot of those were like Comic-Con exclusives and stuff. They're having a hard time denying that the merchandising isn't selling, or that they're not even able to get any deals.
Right.
You'll have people say, well, what about this? Well, yeah, but t-shirts and posters and shit don't count, because that's ancillary bullshit. What did we call that, Rob? Because that's stuff we can do. That's stuff anybody can do.
That's like made to order kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't remember. No, there was a different name we had for it. But point is it's not stuff that's licensed out per se. That's stuff that CBS is doing themselves.
Ironic, considering then on the other side of the industry, Disney forgot to make Baby Yoda toys.
Forgot my ass. That's KK. But here's the thing.
I know.
And if this is to be believed, which I'm pretty sure it is with Robert Meyer Burnett, I trust his sources on this. He said they spent $400 million on Picard.
Oh my
CBS All Access alone, or Viacom CBS, spent over $15 billion this last year on original entertainment. Now, of course, that counts CBS, mind you. But that's $40 million an episode.
That's crazy.
That is fucking insane.
That's nuts.
That make it like the most expensive show ever produced.
Well, and he was saying that before he threw this number out on one of his last shows. And I'm like, wow. He's like, what I'm hearing is correct. He said it's $400 million budget.
Right. The funny thing is that notice that, and this is the real hallmark of if they're having any kind of success or not. CBS is still not releasing any numbers.
Oh, fuck no.
Right. But
we had the one thing where it said Home Alone beat it. Like,
yeah, that's the
Home Alone
thing.
3, rather.
But
Picard's
the
not
funny
even
thing is
doing
that you
well.
look
Yeah.
at like Disney, right? With Disney Plus. Now, I know they had the deal with Verizon and stuff, but irregardless, Disney Plus is like they hit 10 million subscribers. They're bragging about it. That, and so everybody that's trying to say how CBS is actually really successful, why aren't they bragging about their numbers? Because if they
is it 10 episodes or 8 episodes? Bird of Prey said 8. I forgot. Is it 8 or 10? I can't remember. I thought it was 10.
I hope it's 8, because if it's going to be
8, that's $50 million an episode, basically. Almost. That's
51.
fucking. Yeah, 51. Just throw numbers out there.
1, 2.
Go ahead, Annie Trucker. You were saying, sorry.
Well, I mean, at that kind of price, if it's $50 million per episode, they damn well better be paying Patrick Stewart $30 million of that.
I'm sure he's getting quite a bit.
But I mean, that's just so stupid. I mean, $400 million. Think about that. $400 million would be more money than they spent on Avengers Infinity War.
Well, let's say it's a cool $500 million, because they got to spend at least $100 on advertising. They've advertised this a lot more than they have Star Trek Discovery,
because they're banking on the popularity of Picard.
Right. And granted, they probably saved some money, considering 90% of that advertising is all on CBS. Okay, so that's technically free. They're paying themselves. Okay. This show still isn't registering on any even their fucking what do you call it, parrot analytics bullshit isn't even making it look good, because I think that's what Mecca was talking about, right? Was that parrot analytics or somebody else?
No, it was the ratings in, what was it, the UK?
Okay.
Where it wasn't too long ago. Let me see if I can find it. It showed like a baking competition, and 2 different channels airing Home Alone 3 did better than a rerun of Star Trek Discovery.
All right, well, that's a rerun of Discovery, and it was a holiday season, so Home Alone 3, I get it. But still, that's not very good for that show. And then add in that's what Andre brought up in his last video, is that this show is not doing well even on like the parrot analytics bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not even able to make it look good there. Like, nobody gives a shit about this show. I think they shot it in the foot.
Yeah. Yeah, they pushed too many of us away. They insulted too many of us, and they decided to go around letting their Discovery actors, the little 4 knuckleheads, go around spouting their politics and bullshit and insulting the fan base.
Well, not only that, they pre-advertised it way too soon. Said it was supposed to premiere last year, and it didn't.
Now we've got mid-spring for Discovery, and then late 2020 for the lower decks.
Yeah, but still, like, the thing is, and this is what I've been saying, and that a lot of people haven't really been bringing up. I think most people outside of our circle don't realize that the show's not going to be on Amazon Prime. And you're going to have a major, like, if you thought people were pissed that STD was behind a firewall, nobody gave a shit about STD.
Right.
And nobody's really giving a shit about Picard, but there's enough of the core fan base left that want to see this show that are going to be pissed when they realize they've got to subscribe to another fucking service just to watch this show. And then they're going to even be more pissed when they realize it's going to get drug out for however many weeks because they're not going to drop all the episodes in one fell swoop. So it's going to be, if there was any fire then before with STD, which I seen it in a lot of the advertisements, if you scroll through the comments, a lot of the comments were bitching. Why is this behind a paywall? My dad loves Star Trek, but he can't watch this because it's behind a paywall. Why are you keeping my Star Trek hostage? Like, that's almost every message on there, other than STD sucks. And then you had like 2 or 3 people trying to fucking, defend it. But anyway.
I'm a long March trekker. It's bad. Wait, this too shall pass. STT will fade because few see it. Like JJ Trek, it'll be public domain in your lifetimes. I don't know about that.
I don't think anybody cares if it's public domain. To be honest, nobody wants it.
Nobody wants to pirate. Nobody even wants to pirate the short treks.
Well, I think it's like we're another 75 years before Star Trek's public domain anyway, so it's not going to be in our lifetime anyhow. And the answer to this, why CBS isn't in bankruptcy right now, is because of the whole Paramount merger. Of course, CBS had all the money. They're footing the bill for Paramount right now, and that's probably another reason why this Star Trek isn't going anywhere. Because until Paramount can get some money together to actually do anything with it, CBS is going to drive it into the fucking ground. Because they have zero fucks to give about it.
Which I don't understand why they're pissing away this great. The thing, and I talked about this the other day, is that what they don't understand is, and this is common in American companies, but they're so short-sighted that they're trying to think of how do we get a massive cash amount right now, as opposed to looking at the fact that Star Trek is something that can get you a steady income for all eternity if you do it well. It's not going to make Star Wars money. You're not going to get $10 billion because you made a Star Trek movie. But if you put out a good quality Star Trek series, every Trekkie and Trekker will subscribe to CBS All Access. And they'll be happy to do so. If it's good.
One of the things is I think nobody at CBS knows anything about Star Trek.
Right.
No.
Yeah. And so they looked around, and that's pretty much just how Alex Kurtzman got the gig. Oh yeah, he made the he worked on the 2 Star Trek movies with J.J. Abrams. Yeah, hire him. He's good. Oh yeah, he's done Hawaii 5-0. Yeah, he's worked with us in the past. Yeah, all right, kid, just do whatever you want, as long as it's kind of Star Trek,
Well, basically, what we can hope for is if Sherry Redstone really does give that much of a shit about Star Trek as we've been hearing, she's just waiting for this to fall flat on its face and fail.
Yeah,
so
that's
then
what
she
I'm
can
kind of hoping.
Yeah, so then she can fire Kurtzman and get rid of Secret Hideout and start afresh. Because otherwise, then that means she just don't care. And we've been thinking she does, and people have been saying she does, but she really doesn't.
Right.
And because nothing's going to change otherwise. Look who we have. We have a guest.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I feel underdressed now.
Why?
Annie Trek, I don't know if you've met Anna, that Star Wars girl before.
No, we've never actually met, but obviously I've heard of you because everybody has. So
we were on a stream a little while ago, I think.
Were we?
Yeah. Because I remember talking to you. But I don't think we ever were officially introduced.
Okay. Well, hi again then.
I try to make sure everybody has at least been introduced. I try to anyway. But so yeah. What'd you say? Sorry.
What did I miss?
Not much. We're just finishing up the original conversation, which we can let you throw your 2 cents on here in a second, and we're just catching up on super chats. Other than that, we got Dash Fat Bastard sent us another $5. We already did that one. Where's the other one? Was there another one around? Oh, yeah, it is. Nelson Sharita. I knew I seen another one. You want to save Star Trek? Get writers, producers who are Star Trek fans. Make a new STNG set after Nemesis on CBS, an ST version of Mandalorian on CBS. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Picard, but they're just going to fail miserably.
Right. It's the wrong format.
Well, what Robert Meyer Burnett always says is the last thing you do is tell them you're a Star Trek fan. But
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, it wasn't just him. You know how many times I heard that at the Star Trek convention? At least a half a dozen times from people who were in the inside type thing.
I don't understand why. I really don't understand why. Don't you think you'd want someone who's knowledgeable about?
They don't want the baggage. They don't want the argument. They don't want the bullshit. Can you imagine if somebody like Anna was working for Star Wars? How much of a pain in the ass she'd be?
But that's the point. You should have someone like Anna over, working. Over film. You should have someone like me working over at CBS, and then Anna and I can have coffee and talk about how many people we had to fire today. Because it really is a joke in both studios that they don't have anybody that understands these core franchises. Even though I've been softer on the Rise of Skywalker than almost anybody else in the Phantom Menace, I still, I said repeatedly, it's not worthy of the name Star Wars. This doesn't feel like a Star Wars trilogy at all. None of the movies in this trilogy do, because J.J. Abrams, he knows how to direct a film, but he doesn't understand Star Wars. Neither does Rian Johnson, obviously. And when you go over to Trek, J.J. Abrams, once again, as well as Alex Kurtzman and everybody else that's been involved in New Trek, they don't understand what Trek is. They just see explosions, space, pew-pew, lasers.
And toy sales.
Yeah.
So but Anna, this whole thing before, this stupid article that was obviously just trying to push some BS about Picard as being the best captain ever. And we know you're a bit of a Star Trek fan, correct?
Yes.
Oh my God. And I was agreeing because I was doing something when I was listening to you guys, and what you were saying about how Star Trek wasn't cool. It really wasn't. And for them to say, oh, well, Picard's always been the best captain. I'm like, how old are you? How long have you been around? How much do you know about Star Trek? Because I feel like that's one of the most entertaining things as a Star Trek fan is talking to someone. And that's one of the first things you ask is like, who's your favorite captain? And then, people have their opinions and stuff. And then you go on to, your 20-minute little talk and debate about it. And then you branch off from there. And that was one of the greatest things because I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, but I like to be around Star Trek fans more because I feel like Star Wars fans, it's always like a pop quiz. Like, oh, do you know this, this, and this about the EU? And then when it's Star Trek fans, it's like, let's talk about our favorite episode. Let's compare and contrast like what this captain's way of handling the situation is versus this one. And I almost never meet, if you're around Star Trek fans, no one is ever going to have like a unanimously, this is our favorite captain. It's always different. Like I was surprised when Mecca told me that Cisco was her favorite captain, because personally Cisco is my least favorite captain. So I was like, really?
What you made me think of, Anna, and it's like, it shows how little they really, the writers of this article knows, but that other people do understand. Is White and Nerdy, the Weird Al song. The only question I ever thought was hard was, do I like Kirk or do I like Picard? That is showing right there. The division in the Star Trek fans has always been about who's the best captain. Are you a Kirk? Are you a Picard? Are you a Cisco, Janeway, or Archer? And while it's, obviously about 90% of the fans fall into either the Kirk or Picard camp, and then the other 10% are split among the others. But the thing is that for someone to actually write in an article that Star Trek fans unanimously feel, then as soon as you say that, you have no clue, because Star Trek fans don't unanimously agree on anything. We don't even agree on the actual numbers on stuff. Like how powerful is a phaser? Oh man, you could have a million different arguments about it. So.
And I miss those instead of the, oh, you're an ist if you don't like Michael Burnham. It's like, oh,
yeah. Thomas Potts sent us $1.
Aren't Star Trek fans?
No.
And one of the things that irks my soul so much is like you can kind of tell. It's like, okay, you can definitely tell who has read Wikipedia and who actually watched it.
Yes.
So, when you get into conversations like that, they're like, well, this episode and this. And I mean, I'm one of those people, I'm really bad with names. If you told me the name of an episode, I probably won't know unless it's my absolute favorite episode. But if you start talking about the episode, I'll know exactly which one it is. I'll know exactly, you play a certain little score of the music, I'll know exactly what scene and what each character is wearing. And when you actually get down and you try to talk to these people, they don't know shit. It's like, congratulations, you're quoting Wikipedia to me. That doesn't help. You're not a Star Trek fan. You don't know. You didn't live it.
Exactly. For me, it's like a lot more about the message and the intelligence of Star Trek, and not about every little minute detail. Which, yeah, I could argue a few details here and there, but I'm like you. I don't remember names of anything. Like, especially in Star Wars, I don't remember the name of anything because, like, these are all
Well, that's
movies
what
from-
Rob's there for. Is I'm just like Anna. I can remember episodes and scenarios and stuff like that, but I don't remember the names, so I go to him for the names.
I'm better at Star Trek remembering names of things. I'm a lot better there because I've had more time with it. Because for me, with Star Wars, it's 3 movies for me, basically.
Right, yeah.
And then there's some prequels that are okay.
So
But-
Star Trek is, thousands of
Yeah, Star Trek, I've got like about 600 discs on my shelf. So,
right.
and I've watched every single one of them.
Now,
more than once.
For me, like I'm an old school Star Trek the original series fan, and so like I can quote probably a line of dialogue from every episode. I know every title, all that. Now my wife is more like, yeah, you got to tell me something about it. So if I say, oh babe, Operation Annihilate's on, she's like, what are you talking about? The one where the fake vomit lands on Spock's back. Oh yeah, I like that one. Oh, the Doomsday Machine's on, huh? What are you talking about? The one with the giant ice cream
Exactly.
cone. Oh yeah, let's watch it.
Yeah, let's watch that one.
I'm just like that.
Yep, Thomas Potts said $1.99. Forgive Annie Trekker. He doesn't know which one is Tom. That is true. He keeps screwing up Rob and me.
I admit it. I do.
One's
That's
the
all-
duck, one's got the spaceship. Oh,
That's right, but that's all right. Rob always calls everybody Jeff, so it doesn't matter. Just joining us now, speaking of just giving people names, the man I've dubbed Bill, Script Doctor himself. Thank you for joining us, Script Doctor.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I felt compelled to join because you're talking Trek, which, I mean, if you can't tell by my avatar, I'm wearing McCoy's medical
Yes.
jersey.
And I knew you're a Trek fan, but there's another story that we're going to jump to here in just a few minutes that I really, really want to hear you give your take on. But yeah, real quick, your take on the whole Picard's better than Shatner deal.
Well, obviously that's BS. And obviously, I mean, I look at as a writer and even as a diehard Star Trek fan since I was 2 years old, and I'm 35 now, so that's a long time. I always felt Kirk and Picard were alarmingly similar. Like, I always felt that if Kirk, we got to see like a continuing show of the first series into Kirk's later years, not including the movies, that Kirk and Picard would kind of fall in line with their practices. He would no longer be like how people dub him as the swashbuckling captain. He would be a bit more reserved, experienced, and be able to do be more like Picard was in the Next Generation. And then we also get the same thing in a couple of episodes of TNG, where Picard as a cadet and as a new graduate was kind of like a lot like Kirk. He would start a fight. He got stabbed in the back by Nausicaans. I mean, he had his reckless moments as Kirk had his in his youth, and as they got older, they became more in line. They're just the reason we kind of separate them, I feel, is because we have more intimacy with Picard with the series, and he's far more of a logical approach, a bit more cold. And Kirk is also logical, but he's also in tune with his emotions, and he's not afraid to be approachable by comparison.
Right.
So trying to separate those two and say Picard's better than Kirk, it's like, well, how do you measure that exactly?
That's like comparing your children.
Exactly. Yes.
I pick favorites.
You can pick favorites, but you still love both of them.
Sure. Well, you know,
It's like Kirk was your firstborn child, and well, I guess depending on which captain you watched first, because usually that has a lot to do with it too. But it's like Kirk is your first child, and then Picard is your little angel child that never throws a tantrum and never misbehaves. And it's like, oh, I love my first kid, but they just drew all over the wall in Sharpie, you know. So
yeah, the first kid makes mistakes, and the second kid learns from those mistakes without having to repeat them.
Right.
So you can tend to like enjoy, appreciate them more, and that's kind of the case. And also, like, I'm still a real big fan of Sisko because he's like Kirk in many ways, and even with the acting. Avery Brooks does like breath acting, where Shatner does pause acting. So we can hear Avery Brooks take his breaths and do his dramatic monologues and do his speeches, and you just fall in love with that performance. And Kirk does, the classic pause acting. I won't try to repeat it here. Let Doomcock do that. But we all recognize it. We're all familiar with it.
I Not sure what you're talking about.
What's funny is you either had that shirt laying next to you, Annie Tricker, or you actually ran to go get it.
No, it was sitting right over there. I had to put this on because Script Doctor had to brag about his medical shirt. So I'm like, okay, fine. I outrank you. Shut up.
I got a bunch of Trek shirts, but I'm wearing my RoboCop 2 shirt today. So anyway, we got a couple super chats real quick, Rob.
Yes. Dash Fat Bastard, $2. Redstone needs Trek. She's old enough to get that. I think she knows how good Star Trek's been to Viacom and her family. I would hope so, at least. We got another super chat. Let's see. Neon Visual. Working backwards here. $2. 2 pounds, actually.
That's $2.
That's 2 pounds, Neon Visual. I wonder if they will build an Enterprise D bridge. Okay.
I can't find that one
on the screen.
Yeah, I can't find that one. StreamYard is being a pain in the ass for some reason.
That $2. I love how Anna changes her hair every video.
Yeah, that's when I had up.
Yeah, I don't know. I get in this phase where this always is my biggest regret is I get tired of my hair, and so then I cut it, and then I'm just in the bathroom on the floor just crying because I'm like, oh, I miss my hair. So I've been debating about getting bangs. So this is actually a clip-in, so I don't actually have bangs.
Oh, you see, now you should have just kept
but
it in.
see, I'm trying it out because I've just been bored with my hair lately, and I have this little cowlick right here, so it's a pain in the butt to tame it every video. But so I've just been trying it out, and I'm gonna put them back in because I actually do like it, and I feel like my forehead's just too shiny.
You shouldn't even have said nothing. You should have just left it in.
Well, it's a cool factor. I feel like I like to watch the reaction to everyone in the chat just lose their mind.
You're gonna have to redo your avatar though with the bangs.
I know, but see, that's not my avatar. I found that, or I use it, but I found it on Pinterest.
See, everybody thinks it's you. So.
Well, that's because it has the hair.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Berta Price sent another $2. Anna, Cisco worse than Archer? Question mark.
Okay, here's my thing. I got so frustrated with DS9 that it completely was a big turnoff watching it for a long time, and then. Maybe this is my mistake though, was because I watched that interview with all the captains. You guys remember it? And
yes.
The guy that plays Cisco, he's just playing the piano the entire time and he won't talk. And so I actually saw that interview before I watched DS9 because I didn't have access to it growing up. And then watching it, I'm just like, this is that guy that wouldn't answer a question in the interview because he wouldn't stop playing the piano. And I can't stand the Bajorans. Watching that show, I'm like, I'm on the Cardassian side because the Bajorans are such assholes. But the thing about Archer is I watched that show first. So I watched the original series, then I watched the Next Gen, then I watched Enterprise, then Voyager, then DS9. So out of all the characters in DS9, I think Kirk and Gareth were my favorites, and I don't know, I just never got into Cisco. And Archer played water polo, which during the time I watched Enterprise, I was playing water polo, so I was like, oh hey, he likes water polo. So even though Enterprise isn't perfect, I think I just have a softer spot in my heart for it because of what was going on in my life when I was watching it as compared to DS9. And DS9, it was just a headache after a headache, and I'm like, just fuck you, Bajorans, you guys are such ungrateful assholes. But,
are you one of those the Empire did nothing wrong kind of people?
No.
Oh, I'm just making sure. Okay.
No, just honestly, when Ensign Ro was introduced on the Next Gen, I didn't like her. And I get it. I'm like, you've had a hard life, but you don't have to be a cunt, you know?
She kind of was. She kind of was, though.
And then with all the Bajorans, I'm just like, they're just trying to help you. Why do you have to make everything so goddamn difficult? And when the Cardassians came on, I'm like, okay, yeah, they were, shifty and whatnot, but they didn't hide it. It's like you got what you knew what you were getting with them. And so you knew to be on your guard. Whereas the Bajorans are like, oh, we need your help, but we're going to be ungrateful and complain the entire time. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when people want help and they just complain about it. It's like, then fucking do it yourself. You know what? I'm not going to help you. So that's my thing with DS9 is it gets me. Ugh.
Yeah, I love your attitude because it's just like mine. I love that. Just fuck it. Oh, thank you so much for that, Anna. That was worth it. Darren Wagner, $2. There's a Star Trek captain for everyone. Yes, there is. Speaking of Star Trek captains, our own captain has spoke out. He tweeted about this while we were live. Now, of course, it wasn't directed towards us, but everybody's talking about this. And Shatner says, "What's with the Picard hate? Isn't there room in hearts for both of us?"
It's not that we hate Picard. It's what we hate what they're going to do to Picard,
Right?
and we hate that they're making Shatner irrelevant.
What were you saying, Rob?
Tom, I think the real story here is we've been acknowledged by William Shatner.
Well, I don't think he is. He just put that out there. But I had to respond to it. Of course, I said, of course.
Kisses on a tweet once.
But yeah, he's talked to you before. And he's talked to me a little bit, but not much. Of course, but would he be Picard if you weren't Kirk first, is what I had to respond to that. So I thought that was relevant. Anyway.
Okay. Damn it, you may get all my hopes up.
You never know. You never know. He might like that. But I don't think he's watching us. He's got much better things to do than watch us, I'm sure. He might be now that Anna's...
He's going into space. The motherfucker's 88 years old. He's going to go into space.
Is he really?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
Really?
No, I didn't hear about that.
We were just talking about this. I do a show called The Jack Show, and we were just talking about this. I was like, oh my God, like they should send the captains to outer space. And then they were saying, no, William Shatner's not going to go to outer space. He's got too much to do in life. You know, maybe Mark Hamill will because, you know, to get away from Disney, but William Shatner would never do that. And I'm like, no, I have. I was right.
I can beat Mark Hamill there.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to get there first. You know, he just made your point. Mm-hmm. Neon Visuals sent us £2, Rob.
See, now I keep saying I have to get Rue Britannia from whenever I get British pounds.
We need different, we need different themes for the different countries for sure.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll build an Enterprise D bridge. I don't know. Will they?
Dude, I don't think we're going to see the Enterprise again. Not in Picard, anyway.
That's so dumb.
Didn't they destroy it in one of the last ones anyway?
Yeah,
but they always
the
did
bridge
anyway.
was destroyed in Generations.
Well, yeah, but then they just did it in another
Did they
one.
destroy the E? I don't remember if they destroyed the E.
Didn't they let What's-Her-Face drive the damn thing and she crashed it?
That was the D.
That was the
That was
D.
the D, yeah.
Don't let
I
Troy
just
near
said.
the D.
Didn't they crash it? That's the D. She crashed the D.
They might have blown it up in Nemesis. It's been so long since I've seen Nemesis.
We got to say thank you to Robert Montoya, who sent us $1.50, but didn't say anything. He might. I don't know if that was if he sent it a sticker or not. It doesn't show a sticker, so hopefully, maybe that's why the super chats have been so goofy. Maybe StreamYards is fixing that.
Yeah, there was that episode though where called Disaster, where Troy was the senior officer on the bridge, and she had to be.
Yes.
Yeah, and she had no idea what to do. But everybody was
O'Brien with her too.
O'Brien and Ensign Rowe.
Yeah, it's like just let O'Brien lead. He knows all of it.
Yeah, O'Brien, Ensign Rowe, and Worf and Keiko were in 10 forward.
Yep, Bertha Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Keiko went to labor, and Worf's, congratulations, you have dilated to 10 centimeters. You may now give birth. It's like this is so much simulation.
And Matt G brings up a point. Spock was a captain. Can he be in the mix?
Yeah, sure. Yes, he can. Sure.
I mean, so was Sulu. So was Chekhov. Like,
didn't Worf eventually become one too, or something like that?
No.
No. Okay.
Sulu.
Oh my.
So. Okay, we got to know what Script Doctor thinks of this.
Well, Neon Visual sent us another £2, and he says Enterprise D set and Picard flashback. I meant, if they do have one, it'll probably be either 25% different and look like the one that we see in STD, because they'll probably just repurpose that one because they're cheap bastards and they're still spending $50 million.
They spent $400 million on the show. They can
still be cheap
every set for one.
They'll still be cheap bastards.
Oh boy. This is going to be such a train wreck. It really is.
Yes. This is one of the reasons why I wanted Script Doctor to come in here. Not that where he's not always welcome, of course, but I really wanted to hear
Not
his
always
take
welcome,
on
of
this.
course. You just said,
Oh, shush. I said not that he's not always welcome. Yeah, you're right. I did. But you knew what I meant.
I did.
Warner Brothers signs a deal for AI-driven film management system. That's right. They're actually going to let AIs write movies now. We know what happens when they try to do that, right, Rob?
yeah, the movies will probably get better.
They'll definitely be more comical.
Batman.
I have punched Alfred. Give birth to Robin.
Now those may not be real, but this is real.
Yeah, let's find out what this is about. The studio has made a pact with Synalytic to use its project management system that was launched last year. Resistance is futile. Warner Brothers has become the latest studio to publicly embrace artificial intelligence. The movie division, headed up by Toby Emmerich, has signed a deal with Synalytic to use the latter's AI-driven project management system that was launched last year. Under the new deal, Warner's will leverage the system's comprehensive data and predictive analytics to guide decision-making at the green light stage. The integrated online platform can assess the value of a star in any territory and how much a film is expected to make in theaters on other ancillary streams. So they're moneyballing this. This is remember I told you about Moneyball?
Yeah.
Founded 4 years ago by Tobias Kaiser, whatever it is, Tobias. Synalytic has been building and beta testing the platform for 3 years. In 2018, the company raised $2.25 million from TMB Media Global and signed deals with Ingenious Media, Wind River, and Productivity Media, The Little Hours, both of which we've never heard of.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. STX has endured a number of flops in 2019, including Playmobil and Ugly Dolls. Became Synalytic, and they became a Synalytic client in September. While the platform won't necessarily predict what will be the next $1 billion surprise, like Warner's hit Joker, it will reduce the amount of time executives spend on low-value, repetitive tasks, and instead give them a better dollar figure parameters for packaging, marketing, and distribution decisions, including release dates.
They already are writing the scripts like machines. They might as well let them do the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah.
I apologize to those who are religious, but still, it's just unnecessary. What do you think about this script, Doctor?
Well, where to begin? Well, first of all, there's no such thing as AI, only simulated intelligence, because actual artificial intelligence would mean that they could create a machine that could imagine, because that's where intelligence kind of stems from. Second of all, people aren't objects. They're not basically statistics. If you put a computer to program what audiences like, crave, or spend all their money on, you're eventually just going to end up with an issue where you're having every movie be the exact same thing. They're all going to come to the same conclusion, so there's not going to be any variety. People are going to be desensitized to it, and you're going to end up having boring product.
In other words, we're going to have a bunch of Fast and Furious movies with dinosaurs running around.
Talking about family and the importance of family. Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, like, Warner Brothers isn't the only studio to do this. Ron Howard's company, Imagine, it has AI software to pick some of the people that submit their scripts and projects to, which is also terrible, because they can program what they want their scripts to have, right down to the details, personal details about the writer, and toss away potentially great content in favor of fitting some sort of ideology that could be changed. On top of that, it could also be subjected to hacks. People could just hack the AI system so that they can make $1 million by selling a script that was written like overnight. And before anyone realizes what's going on, it's too late, because they're trying to make the entire production process move a lot faster than it actually is, because
that's how Norbit got made, probably.
Rise of Skywalker.
I'm thinking that this whole thing about Warner Brothers using AI to try and create better movies and stuff sounds like the premise for a good movie.
Well,
But-
there's something similar to this with Simone or Sim One with Robert De Niro or Al Pacino. One of
Nobody
those
has ever seen that movie but me. Thank you. I always bring it up and like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a fake
All I
actor.
want though is at some point Keanu Reeves to come in and go, choice. The problem is choice. That's what we need.
Anyway, you were saying script. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but that's absolutely the case. I mean, the last thing you want to do is take the human element out of Hollywood. That's what makes it work, or that's at least what made it work before accountants and marketing teams started to take over, because you have the big quandary of Hollywood. How do we make art that we want to see while also have it make money? Because they don't always go in line. That's a reason why cult movies exist. Like, they didn't make money when they started, but they're popular now and they last this test of time. And at home video and streaming and stuff is where they kind of make a little bit of money, but very little. But we cherish those movies as part of our culture. You don't get that when you put a computer in charge. In fact, Hollywood should be the first at the forefront to be like, we're not putting computers in charge. We've made movies about what happens when we do that.
No shit.
Like, it just goes to show that there is an older guard that's dying out. The current guard right now is only thinking about the dollar, and because they're also getting misinformation because they have their own type of input manipulation from the readers, who are recent graduates of the California education system. So they're getting false data. I'm not making fun of like public school or stuff.
I know.
I'm talking about like in the screenwriting and production aspect of things. Teachers, especially professors that I have met when I would visit out to California, would talk more about the social political atmosphere than the actual lesson itself. And this has actually been going on in school since the end of the Vietnam War. Like, my dad encountered this in the 70s. So I mean, that hasn't changed. It's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I mentioned, I guess, on the last time, your gatekeepers, your readers, the people that are verifying, reading the scripts and passing them on to the people above them, they're going to pass on what they like. And because they're such young, influential minds who've just come out of school and they're still got all the words and the lessons and the ideology rattling in their head from their professors, they're not going to push us. They're not going to pass up the quality content that really reflects what the audiences want based on the writers who are doing the research. They're just going to pass up the stuff that fits the agenda that they feel deserves to be spoken about on a larger platform. And when studios get that information, they think that's what the audience wants, then they start making requests for it. And then writers are like, well, we need to work and pay our bills, so I better write something that fits that agenda. And then we end up getting movies like Ghostbusters 2016, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker trying to fix that, the whole Captain Marvel, like all these, Dark Fate, for crying out loud, Terminator. How do you screw up Terminator that many times? Like, it's weird, but you see the byproduct of that. The control can be manipulated by anyone, which is kind of a good thing. But it's also, it's a double-edged sword. Like, you got to pick people that I advocate for hiring new writers and new readers and stuff outside of California, just because they're probably going to like movies more, and because the industry is so far away from them, it's like a dream. They'll be more appreciative and responsible with the job that they have.
Can I interject right there?
Absolutely, please, yes.
So one of the things, because I mean, I was born and raised in California, never lived in another state, but one of the things I noticed, because I went to college in San Francisco, SJW capital, and one of the things about that is that a lot of people are moving into California. So when you actually get around, Californians, not all of us think that way, and it's usually all the people that are from, what they're the only SJW in this one random state or like one random town in Iowa, and they moved to California because they wanted to be part of this hub because that's where everything is going on. And so all the people that are causing problems, a lot of them actually aren't even from California, and they have no idea, what goes on in the real world. Like when I was living in San Francisco, it's like you have the locals that do everything, and then you have the crazy people that aren't even from San Francisco, that don't even, they want to complain about the bus system, but they don't even use it. And so it's just one of those things where if you're from there, you have that sense of community. Like whenever I go back, I still go to, the mom and pop corner store, and they still know me because I've lived there for years and years. And the people that are just new that are coming in, that they want to protest about the homeless problem, it's like, you weren't even there when it started, because now it's a big tech community. And so a lot of people that live there are getting pushed out because the rent got, it skyrocketed when all the tech companies came in. So everything about it is just changing. And even where I grew up, because I went to high school in Modesto, and that's kind of in the Central Valley of California. And even then, we all just roll our eyes at everything, because in the Bay Area, you couldn't say Merry Christmas because it was offensive. You had to say either Happy Holidays or just not say anything at all. You can't even, say thank you for somebody opening the door for you. It's absolutely ridiculous. But all the people that do that, they're not even from here, So I really like. That's a stickler thing for me, because I'm like, I'm from here. We're not like that.
I have to clarify that a bit. It's what I find, because that's true. Some of the friends that are actually the normal people in the industry that I know are from like Texas and South Carolina, but they're not readers. They graduated in school out of state of California, and at least like college, university, and then came over here to do their stuff. And they're kind of like the normal ones, and they'll probably be running things in 20 years anyways. I was talking more like specifically those that are that come to California for the schooling of like USC, University of Southern California, that go into film, and then they don't actually learn anything about film. I absolutely love San Francisco. I've only been to Modesto once, and it was eerily like clone Toronto, but with better weather. It was so weird. But yeah, like I don't want to paint with broad strokes because that's reckless of me. But the commonality that I've seen, especially in some smaller production houses that do hire graduates of like the prestigious film schools of California, they all are like, I don't know. They're all like, yeah, we like. So there's actually a script called Social Justice Warrior that came out last year that takes place at a school, and it got circulated around so much because it's a hysterical comedy, but it's just frighteningly, it's everything that they say they want, but also at the same time makes fun of everything that they want. So it's not going to go anywhere. But this was the atmosphere of it. And just last summer, I remember I pitched a script to an executive friend of mine. He sent it to his email. He printed it out. He gave it to his assistant, who's a reader from USC. And he never got coverage or anything back from it. He found out from the reader, just tossed it because it wasn't politically correct. And my buddy was like, I actually love this pitch. I wanted to get your other take on it. What the hell? And that's when we started piecing together what's happening, is that people who go to these particular programs that we've seen so far. And I need to obviously broaden my research with regards to other schools, because I don't know graduates from Columbia or anyone from like the Midwest states or Kansas A&M or anything like that do the same thing, but could be. But we've noticed that a lot of the readers that are hired out of the big two in California, they kind of have the same mentality and focus of what they want to pass along and tell their bosses about what they should make, or at least what they liked and that should be done. And it's kind of frightening. And when you have the AI system doing it for you, also frightening as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just one of the things about those schools is because everyone knows those are the top schools. If you want to go there, you will get a job. And so a lot of people come from out of state or even other countries to come and do that. Like I was actually just over there because they do seminars that you can go to, like with people from Disney or people from Blizzard. I always like to go to the Blizzard ones because it's really cool to learn about the artwork. But a lot of the people are actually like from Singapore, from China, and then a lot of people that come from different states. Like there is actually a lot of people from Alaska that come because they want to come and they want to be in California. They want to go to the school. They want to get hired. So you see a lot of people that aren't even from California that move to Southern California to go to these schools. But because it's in California, everyone else in California gets a bad rep because of those people. And it's like, it irks my soul.
It is, because you end up getting conflated between the locals and the tourists, as that's usually talked about. I met a girl who came from I think it was like Tampa, Florida, went to school for a year in California. Because she got to school, she ended up getting a bunch of assistant jobs, and then they put her in charge of Warner Brothers DC characters for YouTube assistant program things. Like she was the head of the YouTube channel for Warner Brothers DC Comics, and she knew nothing about comic books, but she got the job because she did a year at this school, and it was all reputation as opposed to quality. And
well, we're seeing a lot of that with the Gilmore Girl writers on Star Trek Discovery and stuff like that too. It's like, why are these people doing these jobs? They haven't had any history that should make you think they're perfect writers for Star Trek. No, it's just because somebody who knows somebody, and that or whatever they have on their resume, like you're saying, script doctor, basically.
Yeah, it's a reputation of school over a reputation of actual work ethic, and quality. Like it's been like that for decades in every other industry. Like, why not the entertainment industry? But we're kind of seeing, the one industry that did need a bailout during the 2008 crisis starting to finally lose some money because they're going in a weird direction with not only who they hire, but also why they're trying to like market to everyone as opposed to just have fun and take a risk and market to each individual product to as best of its ability. Like all the IP stuff is just nuts. It's like,
well, yeah. I was going to say, if you look at the writer's room for both Star Trek and Star Wars, what you'll see is they're more worried about what colors are the people that are writing in their sex than they are what's getting produced. And that's more than obvious. And you're getting hired by what's between your legs and the color of your skin more so than you are for your talent. And it's kind of a fucked up situation because you hate to say, oh, it's not like anybody deserves a job. Well, yeah, anybody who can do the job deserves a job, but I don't think you should get the job just because of the color of your skin or, what's between your legs. And that's the main problem we have with a lot of this crap across the board, going all the way back to Ghostbusters 2016, which you brought up, which that was where a lot of this stems from, I think. I mean, it wasn't the beginning, but it was where it was the first big bomb. It
was the counter argument that Hollywood put out. That was the first time we got a counter argument. Beforehand, it was just kind of ignored, that type of hate. But then when they actually lashed out, that was crazy. Because I've been seeing this stuff since 2007, and I've been seeing it in Canada, when I'm not in Hollywood, hustling my butt off and trying to get work and not being shown the door because of various reasons. Some of them I've only recently found out have been because I'm a white guy. So I won't be talking with those people anymore. But in Canada specifically, like I remember a couple of independent productions that are eventually going to be co-financed by Whiz Bang, which is Paul Gross's company. And Paul Gross, he's a Canadian actor. You don't have to know who he is. That's okay.
I know the name. I'm sure his face.
From Due South, a TV show called Due South. As soon as there's a movie that was a parody of like 80 cop films or something like that, and just because the black character in the script uses the N-word, they refused to finance it, and they wouldn't even allow the production to just cut out the word. They just tossed it right away because they said that's unacceptable. And I was like, okay, that's word policing. I don't like word policing. And then our country started to get more closer to word policing. So,
well, yeah, and then look at like the whole thing with Walter Mosley. He wasn't even allowed to just say it in his own, reiteration or however you want to put it of something that actually happened to him, and then when he got the phone call and you're like, well, you use the N-word in the writer's room. He's like, I am the N-word in the writer's room. It's like, what's the problem here? And then, he felt like you're saying, there's no freedom of any kind of thought. There's no
diversity of thought.
No diversity of thought. No, and how can you have? And he made a good point, and that's what's true, and that's where I get to this issue with these writers' rooms, is how can you have any kind of good storytelling coming out of no conflict, no resolutions, everything's taken care of, like in the way it was with Walter Mosley. It was like they basically pushed him out. I mean, really, somebody called HR on him instead of just saying, hey, I don't feel you comfortable using that word. And he could have just been like, oh, I'm sorry, but that's what he said. And that's all it needed to be. It didn't need to be this big hullabaloo. And you could have had this acclaimed writer working for, arguably one of the biggest sci-fi shows of all time. Instead, he went walking, and then the show wasn't good enough to even keep Michael Chabon around, whether it's because they didn't want him around because the show tested badly or he just wanted to move on. I mean, it's still, again, it doesn't look good because you can't keep these veteran writers around. And it seems to me like the environment might be the problem. I'm thinking anyway. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, like, the environment is clearly a problem because I do get my secret text like, hey, you have to come to this set today and fix this stuff here because the showrunner is like, not really the showrunner, but the writer who's running the episode is freaking nuts and they don't want to cooperate or anything. So I gotta sneak in and do a little backhanded stuff and talk to an actor, give them a line and be like, okay, you improvise this. Okay. No one wrote this for you. And then they do it and like, oh yeah, the improvised line. That was great. Okay. Let's use that take. And, like, that's just how it is sometimes.
Now, like, you mean they're refusing to do something because of some political stance or something like that, or what?
No, it's like sometimes, well, things go wrong on sets all the time. So a lot of writers are actually really, really good at band-aiding, patching up, using spackle to fix an issue. Like if an actor's too sick where a B12 shot's not going to fix it, or if they lost a location, or if there's an argument between two actors and they don't want to be on the same the set for that day, and so you got to rework some of the dialogues to allow for the coverage so that you can get both of them in the scene.
Oh, so they just don't know how to do their job.
Some cases they don't, or they know how to do it, but they're just not able to make the leap. Like they just focus too much on the problem and not able to see the solution. So sometimes I'll have a friend who's like, an assistant to the assistant director or producer friend or something who'll be like, send me a text and be like, we're having trouble. We moved stuff around. Can you show up tomorrow and help us out some way? We'll just bring you on as like you're a guest visiting a friend, and then we'll hide it so that we don't get in trouble with the unions and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen as much. It happened a lot in 2012 for me, like a lot. Wow. But since then, it's like, once every couple months, depending on where I am. But yeah, there's sometimes there's a political statement that was written in a script like a year ago I heard about, and because it ended up not being accurate, like there's some sort of news break that happened locally and it ended up deflating the whole thing. They had to rewrite this topical monologue to reflect that, and a buddy of mine ended up having to do that job, and I don't even think they aired the scene. I think they ended up cutting it anyways. But like the original writer for that episode who was overseeing it just could not like believe the news report. So because it went against everything that they thought of. So yeah, it's just weird stuff, like weird infantile stuff, and yeah.
Well, I've been saying the writers in Discovery are a bunch of babies.
They don't know how to spell in Discovery.
And simultation.
Okay, let's go back around the bend real quick, get everybody's take on this so we can get to the super chats, because I apologize, guys. I know we're getting a few of them behind here. So Anna, what's your take on all this writer's business, the AI, the whole thing?
Well, they tried it. I remember how many years ago now was it, where they came up with a computer program that would just simulate paintings. And so it was going to be this big thing that they were going to get rid of artists and get rid of the middleman. And then whoever, director of a movie was just going to be able to tell someone that knew how to use this computer program to put in to the computer what they wanted visually for either, what is it called? Storyboarding and like concept art and stuff. And so when you do it through the computer, it looks nice for some things, but it doesn't always work out. And so I mean, as far as having a computer write the script, I mean, I feel like we all know that that's not going to end well. And I mean, you can't. It's like self-driving cars. I guess it's gonna take a long time before you actually get something that's going to work. You can try it, but it's not going to be good. And to have a computer, I'm trying to remember what show it was where that was an actual thing. I can't remember.
I know South Park had it to where the dolphins were throwing the balls into the machine, or the manatees. That's what I was. Sorry, into the machine to write Family Guy episodes. But I don't know if that's what you're thinking of.
No, it was a cartoon that I watched. It must have been like a Scooby-Doo episode or something where they had the computer do everything. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was oh my God, what is it called? Santa Claus 2. where he makes
Santa Claus too, Tim Allen.
Santa, that's going to be him while he's gone, and then it turns into like a dictator because it doesn't understand. And I feel like if you're going to try to have a computer with no emotion, and because that's one of the things is you want when you have a movie or a TV show, you want someone to connect with what's going on. And I think that's why, Star Trek is going to stand the test of time, at least the good Star Trek is, because it connected with you on an emotional level. Machines aren't capable of emotion that way. I mean, we watch Data try to achieve that.
Yeah, it would be like Data. Yeah, that's a good point. It'd be like Data trying to write a play. Yeah,
or like when Data was trying to like do the painting and he just didn't capture the emotion behind it. We've seen it done in Star Trek itself. So it's like this just proves that they never watched it, or else they would know that it's not going to work. So
well, yeah, and this is just Hollywood in general, thinking that their new toys are going to fix everything, and I'm sure they're going to get to a point here in the next few years where they can basically just walk up to a computer and say, this scene, this actor, make it happen, and George Lucas is going to be like, God damn it, I sold Star Wars too early. Now I could actually make the movies I want to make and not have to deal with actors. But anyway, But no, Rob, what do you think of all this mess with all this business?
Well, I kind of knew it was only a matter of time before they tried to try to bring analytics into this kind of thing. This is them. This is not turning to computers pretty much to write films, but they're just trying to figure out what's going to sell.
Yeah, but it's almost the next step.
At the same time, the next step is that they're gonna create an algorithm probably to spit out a script. But at the same time, you cannot. And like Anna was saying, you cannot predict what's going to resonate with people on an emotional level. And Joker is a good example of that. We had no idea. We all thought the Joker.
Nobody did. No computer could have predicted Joker.
Right.
Exactly. And the only thing now they've figured out is, well, we have to come up with a way to predict what the next Joker is going to be. And
how about try new things? Stop getting the same movie over and over again.
Well, remember what? I keep coming back to that interview with Frank Zappa. You had the older guys in the music industry. The music industry mirrors the movie industry, television industry. You had the older guys who would say when they see something kind of experimental music come along, I don't know what this is. Take a chance on it, see if it sells. And then when it's sold, they would say, okay, I took a chance and it sold. We need to do it again. Let's get a hippie. Bring a hippie in here. And so the hippie gets a job, bring in the coffee and get in the mail. And they said, all right, he's a good kid. Let's give him a real job. He's making him an A&R man. And so the hippie is now the one on the desk with his feet up on the desk saying, no, we can't take a chance on that because it's not what the audience wants. And I know. Now they're trying to take the hippie out of the equation. They're trying to take that guy out of the equation who thinks he's the final arbiter of taste for everybody in the country.
Well, yeah, the movie industry is the same, only worse. Because ever since Star Wars, they're like, how do we get one more of those and give me more of those? That's all it's been since Star Wars. I mean, let's face it, that changed the movie industry. Well, Jaws to an effect too. It's like between those two movies alone, it was like, can we get more of those? How do we make more of those?
I say that shark movie did well. What else we got? Well, we got this movie about a killer whale. Killer whale? Those eat people? No, but we'll make sure it eats people.
Oh, they're on Jaws too.
And then they made Jaws too, yeah.
No, they're remaking Jaws as well.
It isn't horrible, no. And Annie Tricker, now that finish up, Rob, so then Annie Tricker, because I know script actor's got to go soon too.
The Orca wasn't terrible. No, it was actually pretty good. I remember as a kid. But this whole thing, like I said, you cannot. You cannot predict human behavior. You can have an idea what people are going to do based on their previous actions, but everybody's different. You don't know what's going to resonate with people. And now that you're just trying to to have it boil down to just pure numbers, I can't wait to see what the first high-profile flop is going to be using this. I mean,
JJ will probably be behind it. So,
yeah, well, we had how many comments we've had? Well, JJ is already an AI, or the new Star Wars movies are already written by AI.
Yeah, well, that was my first joke when you sent that in the
yeah, it was.
I'm like, we already knew they hired JJ.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you did say that exactly.
I mean,
So,
they,
yeah.
you know, but not for nothing. They're trying to predict what sells in China over the last how many years now?
20.
And they thought they could predict what they thought they could tailor Star Wars to sell in
You know
China.
how they sell something in China? You
Man,
make
drive
it,
car fast.
you make
That's
it colorful and put some boobs on it.
Put very attractive people in it. That was one of the problems.
Exactly.
That was one of the problems they had with the last couple Star Wars movies. They said we don't want to see ugly people in movies.
And they're not ugly people. They just made them look ugly, and that's what we've said from time and time again about the whole
I don't know.
situation.
Some of them are
Yeah.
pretty ugly.
All right.
Well,
I'm not trying
regardless.
to be mean, but I'm just like, oh, you want to say that's what Han Solo and Princess Leia? That's
Well,
what they
okay.
were to do.
But I'm talking about like
argument for
Rose
girls.
Tico and Daisy Ridley and stuff like that, because people try and say that us in particular and a few others in the Phantom Menace are always bashing women and particularly them for their looks and stuff. No, we're not bashing them for their looks. In fact, we've said they look beautiful when they're out on the red carpet. Why don't they look beautiful in the movies? Oh, because it's like they're trying to make them gender neutral in the movies, because you can't think of them in any way, shape, or form as sexy in a feminine way, but only in a strong feminine way can you think of them.
There's
I know,
a
but you
reason
can still be
why.
strong and feminine without looking like a potato sack. Like, I mean, look at Ellen
Exactly.
Ripley.
Tom,
Look at
bring up that picture. Tom, bring up that picture of Carol Danvers that I always come back to.
I don't.
Well, hold on. Let me see. I'll link it here. Hold on. But I always say
I know the one, but it's like all these hundreds
Yeah.
of new ones are going to come up in the process.
Here we go. Hold on. I got it here. I'm just
And then we got to get around the bend here so we can let Script Doctor get out of here, and we got super chats to get up to too. Yeah.
just ask for Tom bringing it up. Yeah, but I always say there's a reason why she doesn't look like mother puss bag. Here we go.
Leave it to Rob.
Yeah. I'm putting in the private chat. There's a reason why Carol Danvers doesn't look like this in the movie. Tom, you can share that?
Yeah, I'll get to it.
The suspense is killing you.
Is this like the Bieber version?
No.
This wasn't
is
the
the
one I
good
was
Carol Danvers.
looking for.
The
but
Miss
all right.
Marvel image? Yeah.
Yeah, Miss
Okay.
Marvel.
Yeah. But like I said, there's a reason why, because they're convinced they want to desexualize everyone. They don't want to make anybody feel bad about themselves. And they don't want to portray anyone as overtly beautiful, because everyone says, I want to see people who look like me. And most people don't look like that. But I don't want to see people who look like me. If I want to see people who look like me in every movie, every film would star Jack Black.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, come on. The whole idea is you're going to see something that's idealized.
Well, and you're screwed because I heard he's retiring.
Jack Black?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh, we still have Fat Thor.
Speaking of Fat Thor, Annie Trekker, what's your thoughts?
Wow, nice transition there.
Oh, wow. What a
It's the hair. It's the hair.
Yeah, it's the hair.
What's your thought on this whole AI business and everything else?
Well, first, I gotta ask Anna, because she's talking about her San Francisco cred here. So I'm gonna put it to the test.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I am. I was born in Concord. Raised.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got family all over the Bay Area. So Tommy's Joint. Ever been there?
No.
See, you blew it. Sorry.
I know. But hey, you're talking to like one. I know I can be social here, but I was like the most antisocial person ever. I stayed downtown, so I lived like right off of Powell Street for the majority of the time. Then I lived in the Mission, and I would just go around the places where I lived, and I would just get on the bus and go out to Land's End and go hiking. But as far as like going out to places, I didn't really.
Well, I will tell you, the next time you're back in San Francisco, I assume you don't live there now, but next time you're back in San Francisco, look if they were there the last time I was there, but that was like.
What neighborhood is it in?
I'm trying to remember now, because I don't know, because I didn't live in the city. I would just go to the city all the time, so I didn't always know the names of the city, the neighborhoods. but look up Tommy's Joint. It's a little hole in the wall place. They make buffalo stew. And it's like, I know, but that's not what I would get. I would always get their French dip sandwich, but my parents were always crazy about the buffalo stew. But
Script Doctor has to dip out, guys. So we're going to say thanks to him for stopping in, and do check out his channel if you get a chance. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and we always love having him here. Thanks for stopping in, Bill.
Thanks very much for having me, Anna. Pleasure meeting you. Hopefully, no hard feelings to my bias towards the commuters of California, but
no, I get it, which is why I always have to like defend California.
Please do always, because there are a lot of great things about that state. It's one of the ones I'm trying to move to, even though there is a lot of crap everywhere. But yeah,
don't go to certain areas of certain places, and you'll be fine.
I will say this also, is that you think that San Francisco is the capital of crazy liberalism. You have not been to Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh, I've written a show about Portland, Oregon. I'll share it to you guys one day.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God. Yeah.
But thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yes, thank you for stopping in.
Take care.
Do check out his channel, everybody out there, Script Doctor PhD.
So on the AI stuff, honestly, I think that it's just going to be, you know, if they were to successfully institute this kind of an AI system, we wouldn't even notice a difference. It would be more of what we're getting now, more copycat film after copycat film, because what they do,
wouldn't it just kind of eat its own tail at that point?
It wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't be any different than, because like right now, you know, you say Joker, big hit, so you enter into the system. Okay, dark super villain movie. With no heroes. Okay, so now let's see, let's do Lex Luthor the movie. All right, awesome. What's next? Well, we need Marvel stuff, so let's do Doctor Doom the movie.
Well, an AI would mix in the fact that Venom was successful too.
Right. And so, but that's all, and that's what they do now. I mean, that's why they keep, you know, coming out with these copycat movies, is because, you know, like you said with Jaws, you know, Jaws is a big hit, let's make Orca, you know. Orca is a big hit, so let's make Flipper Revenge, you know, or something like that, you know.
Well, lucky for us, usually the copycats don't go far. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like the system, I don't see why it's going to work, because it's already that's already what they're doing.
Right.
And the system is just going to feed the numbers out and spit them out as like, yeah, like you just said, it's just more of the same makes sense, when it's not going to be true because people get sick of it.
Ironically, sometimes the copycats are better known though than the original.
Sometimes, yes.
Like you look at Friday the 13th, is actually better known franchise than Halloween, even though Halloween was the original and Friday the 13th was a copycat. But the problem is
it was different enough, I think, or it wasn't really copying much. But.
Actually, Friday the 13th, you should read. There's a great documentary on Friday the 13th where the producers of the movie say, yeah, what their plan was, they hired a writer and they said, please write something like Halloween.
Yeah,
that was
talking about Crystal Lake Memories. Though. Yeah, because then
I've watched those, but I still think they're different enough to where I don't consider them just a copycat. Well, it's not like Dante's Peak and what was the other one?
Volcano or whatever.
Yeah. They were different enough to where, you know.
But yeah, you have that throughout history. But I think what your guys are getting at, because then I can't think of his name now, but he actually went to try and get the rights to Friday the 13th. And I think he did, because he said, yeah, they just wanted him to do a ripoff of Halloween. That's exactly what they told him to do. Mm-hmm. But then he went and wrote it as Reverse Psycho.
Right. And so, but anyway, the point though is that like what we're going to miss, and I think Anna said this earlier, and I know we've all said it at some point, is what Hollywood can't seem to understand is that really the way to make that next smash hit movie is to take chances, is to do something a little bit different, not to just follow the mold. And that's where, again, I know that I praise them a lot, but I give the MCU a lot of credit for doing things like, oh, they could have just done the exact same thing they did with the first couple movies, but then they threw out Guardians of the Galaxy and everybody was like, what the heck is this? A talking tree and a raccoon. And people, and it ends up being the biggest moneymaker of the year, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's what you got to do. You got to take those risks. And more studios need to be willing to change things up. You know, if you look at the DCEU films were written by a computer. I mean, if you just look at they just said, okay, dark and gritty, that's popular. Batman, He's real popular, you know, and so they just tried to grab what's the most popular. Well, everybody liked Death of Superman, and everybody liked the whole Dark Knight thing. So let's just put all that together into one big movie. It'll make $100 billion.
Superman, right? That
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, that's all they did was they sat there and they tried through that. If you look at the DCEU, those are movies made by focus groups. Those are movies that they basically just said, what's popular, let's cobble it together, as opposed to what can we do with these characters that's interesting and new and different.
Well, that's kind of what the problem is again, and that's where I said snake eating its own tail, because that's already what these movies already are made by committee. They're already made by focus groups,
right.
So they're just
going to make it more
algorithms. Yeah,
they're just going to make it more efficiently bland.
Yeah, I don't know, Mecca. What do you think of all this? Because I know you're half robot.
Well, I don't think they're going to be writing stuff by AI just yet, but they're already pretty much just focus group committee bullshit, and I think that's why movies are terrible lately. I mean, this is the reason why I kind of dip out of movies and I don't really pay attention, because they are also a cookie cutter, generic, boring copy and paste garbage. But no, I don't think they're writing them by AI just yet, but they're certainly not writing them from beginning to end with any sort of it's like they're filling them in as they go, you know, especially with the JJ shit. But
yeah, I mean, and I was just about to type this, so I might as well just say it. You know, and you know, we're talking about Superman in the chat. The problem with Superman is you don't change Superman. Superman stays the same. It's the world around him that changes, and that's why Donner got it right in the first place. He didn't change who Superman was, and they even have Lois make that joke. You know, and he's like, "I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the American way," and she's like, "You'll be fighting every elected official in Washington." You know. Because that's a joke everybody made to them when they're like, "You're going to make a Superman movie now? Good luck." You know, they figured out how to do it.
But notice they started toning down Superman by the time they made Superman Returns, because they had to say, well, does he fight for truth, justice, and all that stuff? Because they can't say the American way.
Exactly.
That might offend somebody. You know?
And it's sad because that's what Superman is all about. He's the ultimate immigrant.
The ultimate Boy Scout.
He's the ultimate Boy Scout, but he's also the ultimate immigrant in that the sense of that American dream to be able to be part of something so much bigger than yourself. And that's what Superman is, really. He's that symbol, you know, and he's that symbol of hope and what we all could aspire to be if we could be as good as him. Because he's not just super powerful when they say he's Superman. He's basically perfect in every way.
Right.
Like he may not always know the right decisions per se, but he's meant to be what we could all be someday, not the powerfulness, but the goodness inside of him.
Well, and the thing is, like, Henry Cavill was such a great pick.
I'm starting to sound like Marlon Brando now.
Well, the sad thing to me is Henry Cavill was a great pick to play the role, but they, you know, I think what really killed that movie more than anything else was Pa Kent. I mean, the whole thing with, well, maybe you should let them die. What? And it's like, that's the opposite of Jonathan Kent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jonathan Kent is the only person who has a moral standard that's as high as Superman himself, you know? And it's like, for him to say, oh, maybe you should let them die. I was like,
that was horrible. And that was one of the parts that really pissed me off. In that movie.
And so now you've got a Superman who's not quite sure if he should save people. And it's, no,
Superman.
Exactly. And the thing is, I loved Henry in the film. I thought that he brought a certain presence that felt like Superman, but everything coming out of his mouth was wrong. And the way that that whole and it was all centered around Jonathan Kent teaching Superman nihilism, basically. And it's like, seriously, I don't know who wrote that particular, you know, theme into the movie, but whoever that person is, you know, F you. Sorry, when I'm a Superman.
No, I'm totally. You don't want to get me started on Man of Steel and Superman.
Right.
We got to get caught up on these super chats though, Rob. I apologize to everybody who's been waiting. Robert Montoya brought up the end of Kirk's reign. Federation entered golden age of peace, prosperity, Picard's end, Borgs everywhere, and Cisco saved all from Cardassians and Dominion. Quickly, if anybody wants to comment on that.
Well, the funny thing is that, and I've actually been talking about this on my channel a little bit. Kirk was, of course, a military hero. He was loved by the Federation, and he was respected by the Klingons, right? And like, I love that whole thing with General Chang, how he always wanted to meet Kirk because he's like this great warrior to him. And when the Kirk era ended, yeah, they kind of ended on a happily ever after. Hey, thanks to Kirk, once again, the Federation is saved, and now the Klingons and the Federation can be friends. Yay, we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Now let's fast forward to 80 years later. They've been singing Kumbaya so long that the Federation has forgotten that they're also the military. They've literally forgotten that. And so Picard is actually going so far as to say they're not the military, and they've gotten fat, they've gotten lazy, and they don't know how to deal with a real threat when the Borg show up. And so I think what we see in Star Trek The Next Generation, and it has to lead into Deep Space Nine, is an awakening in the Federation to realize, oh crap, we can't just sit back on our laurels because there are real bad guys out there. And then in Deep Space Nine, they continue that on with the Dominion War. And so, if Patrick Stewart and the Enterprise crew had continued on through the Dominion War, that could have been epic, but obviously they wanted to cut it at 7 seasons so they could get into movies and stuff. But unfortunately, where they kind of dropped the ball was Voyager. Just kind of didn't click with people. It was just like, okay, it's a random ship out on the other side of the galaxy. It doesn't feel like Trek now. It feels like Lost in Space. But I mean, it was better than a lot of other sci-fi shows that have come, but it just lost something from what we had in TNG and Deep Space Nine. But I don't necessarily think that, oh, well, the Federation fell apart under Picard. The Federation was doomed to fall apart, and if it wasn't for the Picard and his crew, the Federation probably would have ultimately been defeated. That's it. Go ahead.
Anybody else have anything to say to it? I'm trying to find all the super chats because streaming.
Yes, I'm not much of a nerd. I'm sorry,
because I just lost all the super chats.
Oh, no, I mean, I agree with while you try to find your super chats. I mean, I 100% agree. It seemed like, Picard was so timid about getting into anything. So then when that one thing, I mean, I guess I can spoil it because it's been out for years now. But the whole thing when Picard becomes Locutus, and then, when he's dealing with everything after the fact, and it's like, well, what did you expect to happen? It's this alien conquering race that wants to take over everything. They aren't just going to sit there and be diplomatic with you. And so that change that happens in Picard when he finally realizes, like, oh shit, I can't talk my way out of this. Like, we actually are going to have to do stuff, and there is consequences. That was a big wake up call. And I think with that super chat, it's not misleading in the concept, but you have to think about it is that they end their story because there was set to be only 7 seasons. And then that's why it picks up with DS9. That's why you see the moment you're introduced to Cisco is the stuff that's happening, and the certain character dies, and then he takes it up from there. But then he deals with other stuff on the other side of the galaxy. But they even brought in the Maquis with Ensign Rowe in the Next Gen. So it all kind of ties together.
Right.
But saying that, the original series, it leaves off there in Peace and Prosperity, and then the Next Gen, it leaves off on this. Well, it's like, yeah, but there's still stuff going on because, the original series got canceled, and so it stopped on that note. So you have to also think about the context of the time, not just going off of, oh, well, this was peaceful, and then this. It doesn't mean that they aren't good captains. It has to do with what the plan was for the show moving forward. So think about that.
By the end of Deep Space Nine, things were heading back to peace and prosperity. So it was, because of the laziness of Starfleet during that 80-year gap, things have gotten so bad that Picard and then Cisco had to save the Federation from its own ineptness. And they were successful, and I think that's a great story. I mean, it is too bad we didn't see more of Picard in Deep Space Nine during the war. I think that would have been really cool had they brought back the Enterprise crew every once in a while and built on that. Because and I don't know if you know, because I know you weren't a big fan of Deep Space Nine, but one thing I loved in the first episode was the fact that Sisko hated Picard. Right, because of the fact that Picard was Locutus and Locutus killed his wife, and so when that whole thing was such a great dynamic moment between Patrick Stewart and Avery Brooks, I would have loved to have seen that happen a couple of times each season throughout the entire run, so that like every now and then, since the Enterprise is out there in the war and is in the same area as Deep Space Nine, every now and then the Enterprise shows up, and every time Sisko just wants to punch Picard in the face and just can't get past that. And then you build up to when they had the first Contact film, and the Defiant, of course, is in that opening fight with the Borg cube. And instead of just having Worf in command and everybody else is just an extra, how about you actually put Sisko in command of the ship? And now in First Contact, you have Sisko and Picard going face to face, fighting over this stuff with the Borg all around them. And I mean, think about, and I've talked to like Script Doctor about this last week. Think about the great moments you could have had if you had, instead of Picard arguing with new character that we just introduced about blowing up the ship, what if it's Sisko in that ready room with Picard arguing over philosophical differences, and Sisko's accusing Picard of being biased because of his time with the Borg, and Picard's accusing Sisko of being biased because his wife was killed by the Borg, and it just makes these huge, intense, dramatic moments that could have been awesome, but it just never happened.
But see, we're sexist and racist because we want this kind of stuff in Star Trek.
Right. Well, I'm a complete racist because I wanted more of the black guy, you know. But
see, that's why I like Sisko the best, because how like the first episode of DS9, the rage that's just right boiling under the surface when he's talking to Picard. Yeah. That's what convinced me. Like, oh shit, this guy's cool. This guy's intense, and it's just the sheer acting too.
And unlike a lot of characters, that rage was completely understandable.
Yeah.
Because
that was
they took the time to show you what happened.
Oh, and I love that. That was really good.
All right. Well, let's move on. I found the super chats, thanks to Anna's help. Darren Wagner sent us $2. I'll defend Archer all day long. He grew. And that, of course, is the he grew joke is from Geeks and Gamers joke that somebody was writing, and they crazy. Anyway,
crazy.
So yeah, if you don't get that joke, that's what that comes from. Matt G sent us $2. JJ is AI artificial idiot. That is so true. He's not artificial. He truly is an idiot.
I wouldn't get that much wrong.
What was that?
AI wouldn't get that much wrong.
Right? That's what I just said. That's he's not artificial. He is an idiot. So that is so true. And many of you shared that feeling in the chat earlier. Captain Hare sent us $5. In the distant future, when Star Trek gets good writers again, you think we'll get a proper Klingon sex scene? You know, less rapey, more broken ribs.
I will be in it.
Not likely.
That was rapey.
Oh, well, and they kept flashing.
They show the Klingon woman raping the dude.
Yeah. Over and over again. They kind of kept flashing.
The woman isn't going to do that with a man that can't fight back. That's part of. Didn't they watch Worf?
Well, that was her mate, and then they skinned him. They like transformed him a couple of ways. They grabbed some human grafted Klingon DNA onto a corpse.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, but like the whole, I know what Anna's getting at. It's like I know. TNG episode where Riker was like, having the student exchange program with the Klingons and that one chick.
If you look at the context of that STD stuff, though, is that it does seem like the sex is not entirely consensual on his part. And keep in mind he just had that process done, and his memory was erased.
Exactly. Yeah. So he doesn't even know who that is.
What the hell was going on, except that this big scary woman with lizard breasts is on top of him and doing weird stuff.
I don't care. It's stupid as frick.
It is, because a Klingon woman would never do that. I mean, I feel like that's one of their biggest turnoffs is like if a mate isn't strong.
A submissive man.
Yeah, it's just
they would. The last thing they would want is a submissive man.
With those little man bun.
That's
Oh.
what
And
I
in
was
fact,
getting to.
a
Yeah.
beautiful example of that was actually in Voyager when they ran into some rogue Klingons on the other side of the galaxy, and one of them had the hots for I can't remember who. One of the characters. No. This was one of the rogue Klingons had the hots for one of the male characters. I can't remember which one, but
for Ensign Kim.
it was for Kim. Thank you. For whatever reason, because Kim was in charge. Kim was in charge of something, and so she got really turned on by the fact that he was the guy in charge, and so she's chasing him all around the ship, and he's hiding. He's literally hiding in like a little compartment. And Neelix stumbles across him. It's like, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, that Klingon chick is after me, and I just can't take this." He goes, "Don't worry, come on out. I'll take care of it." Right. And so she comes walking down the hallway. And so then Neelix grabs him and says, "I don't care what you say, Mr. Kim. She's mine." And then throws him down. And then, of course, then Neelix and her go off to Tuvok's quarters to have lots of sex. And so that's, so that you're right. I mean, a Klingon woman wants a dominant man, not some wuss that she can tie up.
Right.
But then again, we're talking SJW Trek. So
That's true. And then Terrafim sent us $2. You're wrong about AI. It'll soon predict at 99% plus. I hope I'm wrong. I hope. Yeah, right. We'll see. Anything that gets us better movies, right?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. The next one is TechCom. Clark is Earth's hero. Pa Kent is Clark's hero. Yeah, that's right. And that's why I like that scene in Batman v Superman better than I do the one where he's like, "Oh, maybe you should have let him die. Who gives a shit?" It's like in that scene where he's explaining, I thought I was a big hero when in the process we destroyed our neighbor's farm. That is a much better Pa Kent lesson for Superman than the other one, because at least that one teaches him, yeah, you can be the hero, Clark, but always remember that every action you have has consequences. So he's always got to be thinking ahead down the road what his powers will have an effect on, not just what he's doing now, but later on, etc. That's a much better Pa Kent lesson in the long run. So yeah, I could go on about Man of Steel all day long. I even did a video about it that never got released. Anyway, TechCom sent us another $2 super chat. Do they still sing songs of the Great Tribble Hunt? That's for our Trek fans. Well,
are you asking me since I'm the Klingon on the
probably?
Yeah. Yes, we do occasionally sing about the Tribble hunts. I actually have a roasted Tribble right back there, but yeah.
Tribble. That's a cute.
Well, we did learn thanks to Star Trek Discovery, we know that Tribbles are mostly meat.
All meat. So in other words, they're chicken nuggets. What was that, Anna?
Did somebody eat the Tribbles?
Yes.
Yeah.
In one of
they
those
ruined
short
the
treks.
Tribbles in Discovery.
Yeah.
In the Trouble with Edward, we find out that the reason that Tribbles multiply so quickly is because they were genetically modified because they'd make a perfect food source, because underneath the hair, it's all meat.
Because he's an idiot.
Tribble nuggets.
Because the guys like, and that's their excuse. Oh, he's an idiot. They make Alita captain, move her over from Enterprise to captain of some science ship, where John Benjamin experiments on Tribbles, and there's a whole arguing back and forth scene, and it makes me want to die.
They quite literally reenact the argument sketch from Monty Python,
but not good, not in a good way, in the Ghostbusters 2016 kind of way, where you're just there telling them to shut up the whole time.
Tribbles are delicious, according to Black Phoenix. And Tribbles are also mostly human. That's the other thing they changed in this too, didn't they? Yeah. So not only our food source, it's Soylent Green, folks.
Tribbles are popping on the teeth. The Tribbles didn't even reproduce if you overfed them. They were just popping up, just all over the place.
And they were literally popping.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Release the Connors cut. I don't know of what, unless you mean that video. If you hop onto our,
it is mostly meat. I gotta say,
yeah, it is. If you hop onto our Patreon, I actually released that video on Patreon, so you can check it out there. It was one of the videos I was working on for a long time before I got brought on to Midnight's Edge, so it has all the old logos and stuff on it.
Any more super chats, Tom?
No, well, there's one more from TechCom, who I think is Mega Jetty. He asked if he can come on. One of these days we'll have to have you on, Mega Jetty. We're gonna be wrapping up here shortly soon, so we'll definitely get you in the queue to hop in here. I know I've talked to you on a few other chats before too, so we could probably make that happen. So yeah. So other than that, I think that we are finally caught up on the super chats. I had a mess of a time trying to deal with them on StreamYards. I apologize again. Hopefully they're just updating stuff. Oh, now what did Mecca send me? Do I dare check? Is it porn? No,
no, that's that trouble with Edward things.
Oh God. Oh, hopefully I don't get in trouble for showing this, but you know what? I think you guys paid enough in super chats already. It don't matter. Let's just do it. The hell with it.
Well, the Benny Hill song will get claimed. That's it.
Yeah. Whoops. So then I shared the wrong thing anyway. Oh no! And then I closed the wrong thing.
So yeah, shout out to Angry Mr. Flibble. He's been a long time friend of the Trek community here.
Here we go. Right.
There we go. It's played over.
That's Win Tom stuff. I could give away a Joker free movie. I've got a free digital code for Joker.
Oh, for God's sake!
Here we go.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Make it transformative.
But it's perfect though. It's much better without the nattering.
Well, it actually is better.
You know what's sad is they're just using those fucking toys that you guys have.
Yeah.
What are we watching?
This is Star Trek now.
Yeah, this is actual Star Trek.
Is that girl about to die from all the tribbles?
Yeah.
What the heck?
And yes, the Tribbles successfully destroy a ship and kill that guy.
They turn them into critters.
That's not how critters work.
Go check out Angry Mr. Philbo for more stuff like that. Yeah.
That was an episode. That was real. That wasn't a parody.
No, the music set up part was the funny part, but no, the rest of it's totally real. None of that was. What? Yeah, that was just a sped up episode, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was they have tribbles and there's just a lot of them on the ship?
It's a prequel, so it's setting up that this is why the tribbles are so reproductive and all that kind of crap. Right. And now that's so many
of them that the ship explodes.
Oh my God.
And then the tribbles get on the planet, which of course happens to be near Klingon space, and that's how the tribbles get to the Klingon Empire. But then the tribbles destroy an entire starbase on the planet.
They turn them into critters.
That is so unbelievably stupid.
And yet, 11 years later, when Captain Kirk runs into Cyrano Jones, nobody knows what a tribble is.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the tribbles destroyed a starship and a colony.
We've seen the Turbo Left video, Thomas Potts, but I'm positive Anna hasn't, and I don't want to ruin it. Yeah. I don't want to show that to her. That's too much.
He sent it to me on Twitter. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
What is it?
I have no idea. It's something about. Well, have you seen
that? I don't know. Then I was talking about the actual episode, but
yeah. Do you know about the turbo lifts in Discovery?
No.
You know what a turbo lift is in Star Trek, though, right? So it's
it's bigger on the inside one. Yeah.
So their turbo lifts are literally miles-long roller coasters going in every direction imaginable, with spaceships flying around doing maintenance on them inside of a ship. Now you know, I know you're that Star Wars girl, but you know, of course, that a big ship like, say, a Star Destroyer doesn't have that much internal space to it.
No, and then they even did an episode in the Next Gen. Remember when Picard has the kids and they have to climb out of it and climb up the turbo lift?
A regular old elevator shaft.
That's not how...
No. Now it's this wide open space with rails like roller coasters. And for some reason, you know what it needs, and I don't know if they do this in that video, but it needs like the sound of people screaming like they're on a roller coaster when they're going around on these turbo lifts, because that's what it absolutely looks like.
What it sounds like you're describing is not the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but the one with Johnny Depp where they're in the
Kinda.
glass.
It is actually very similar. Yes.
That's exactly what I'm picturing.
Do you have anything where you can show her what it looks like? It's something you just got to see. And this is all canon now.
No, it's not. It's make believe that these people are trying to call out.
I'm going with Anna's thoughts on that.
Something that I haven't even seen it, and just hearing that it's like that's somebody that's never watched Star Trek.
There's pictures, but they're so chock full of shit. I don't think Anna's gonna be able to tell what it is. It looks just like a scene from
like a clip from that video without the sound, and then
the sound ain't gonna matter so much as the video. But basically, here's the problem: is it looks like anything like it looks like a shot from Blade Runner. This is the inside of the turbo lift.
Yeah. So look at that.
What?
That is, see all those neon tracks going in different. So the turbo lifts are flying down those neon tracks, and then right where the mouse is, that's one of the worker ships that's actually doing maintenance inside. This is inside a Federation starship.
Yeah, here's the actual turbo lift right here that I'm circling right now. This is a little worker robot that's like fixing stuff on the inside.
Because it's bigger.
So like the people are.
That doesn't even make sense for anyone building and designing a spaceship.
Right. Why would you have all that wasted space?
Huh?
If you had this much space inside your ship, why is that not full of stuff?
I know. Just imagine if the shields went down and they were under attack, and the one missile goes through the wrong spot, and it just that entire thing would just implode in itself. Whereas the other things are just like elevators, and they're all contained. You have that protection. This doesn't even make sense logically for anyone that has any kind of military vessel. Maybe an amusement, cruise ship, but
right?
No.
It looks like an amusement park inside the ship. It's so stupid. It's a big waste of space for one.
What were those games I think they came out in the 90s where it's like you're in a little cart and you're going down a mine shaft? And
a little virtual reality game.
Over the edge, and then you see all the other where the tracks are. That's what this reminds me of. Do you guys know?
The ship is a TARDIS.
Starship looks like now.
That's stupid.
And of course, don't forget the fact, by the way, another thing we learned thanks to the new Star Trek is that transparent aluminum apparently is capable of withstanding a matter-antimatter explosion at point blank range.
How do we know he didn't invent the damn thing?
Yeah. Because and so we see Captain Pike by a door with a glass window, so it's transparent aluminum, I'm sure. Right on the other side of the door is a unexploded photon torpedo that goes off. It's maybe 10 feet away from Pike and not a scratch on him. You okay? I think I broke that Star Wars girl. I'm sorry.
I'm used to this already. That's what I was afraid. I was gonna say I don't know about Anna though. I think she's probably hurt.
I stopped watching when, because I liked the whole Mirror Mirror episode and the OG Star Trek when they did it once, but when Michael is talking to the Klingon dude and he's somehow nice, and then the guy that she kissed, because she's a 30-year-old woman that's never fucking kissed someone, that guy starts transforming into a Klingon, and I was like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. And that was me half watching, having it on in the background while I was painting, and I'm like, I can't even do this. So
here's a good one. Here's a good one for you, Anna. You'll like this. Okay, so they've updated the specs on the starships a little bit. Now, it used to be, if you look at the original series of Trek, that a Constitution class starship had 4 shuttles. Okay, so and they actually do say that in the show when they're checking in one episode when they're examining an empty ship. One of the guys goes to the shuttle bay and says all 4 shuttles are present and accounted for. So we know that a ship has 4 shuttles. However, they had to update that. So we find out in Discovery, in actuality, the Enterprise has 2,000 shuttles. And by the way, they're all combat ready and have people to fly them.
What?
Am I making that up? Please, Tom. Am I making?
No,
that
you're
up?
not. You're not.
I
They don't know what the crap they're doing.
2,000 shuttles.
It's like when you're a kid and you're playing with your like action figures, and it's like, well, my character is the most powerful person in the universe or the galaxy, and then the other kid's like, well, my character is the most powerful in the universe, and then the other one's like, mine's the most powerful in the dimension, and it's like you're just trying to one up. That's what that's like.
So yes,
we have the biggest Star Trek. We have all the shuttles. We got 2,000 shuttles. It's like, okay, congratulations. Mine's got 3,000. Like, what the?
Yep, and that's exactly what we said after watching the show. Congratulations, you didn't even have to watch it. But yeah, Rob compares it to the there's a Futurama episode that does it, but I always go to the South Park one where the fun with weapons, where Cartman's character Bullrack just keeps adding random powers whenever he wants. Yeah, it's the same thing. This show is the epitome of Deus Ex Machina. It might as well be called Deus Ex Machina, the show, because everything in it is either to serve Michael Burnham or to don't show her that Annie. I warned you.
Look, it's
Who's
Spock.
That's Spock.
That is Spock.
They couldn't get Zachary Quinto.
But no. Wait. Well, no, we got this. Is going to be good. Don't answer it. Don't spoil it. Nobody say anything.
Oh my god!
Anna,
what?
Guess what Spock just did to cause this reaction. Just anything. Guess whatever you think is like something that Spock could have done to get to this point. Now, you know, Spock does occasionally display emotion, but it has to be something. He
does because he's half human. He just went through the pond far and he just finished.
That's good. That's a good guess. But no, the answer is he just finished singing a Gilbert and Sullivan song with number one.
Is he sick?
No. Just for fun. They were stuck in a turbo lift together. The elevator went out and they were stuck in the turbo lift together. And number one you know who number one is, right? She was originally played by Majel Barrett in the very first episode, The Cage. She was the first officer of the Enterprise.
The unshown pilot that was turned into the later. Yeah.
So anyway, but not really all that important. But she's stuck in the elevator with Spock. Out of the blue, she starts singing Modern Major General. And you know that song?
Yeah.
Okay. So she starts singing it, and at the very end, Spock finishes the song with her,
and they dance.
Yeah, and then we get this beautiful moment. So
here's the thing. Okay, I'm looking at
they're in Yosemite singing "Row, row, row your boat." Are you fucking kidding me? Can I cuss? Oh my god.
Absolutely.
Okay. What the fuck? Is there something wrong with him? Like,
well, no, there's something wrong with the people who wrote the show. They made him learning disabled, like a bunch of.
Oh yeah, he has space dyslexia.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they gave him space dyslexia, and Mikey Spock made him the man he is, or the Vulcan he is today.
No.
Yep.
Spock has space dyslexia.
So I don't feel so bad about only getting like a few thousand views on my review of the episode, because they only got 5,000 views on Star Trek's official YouTube channel for their promotional thing. So I don't feel so bad now. But it's us. It's our fault. It's our fault they're failing.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, well, is there an explanation as to why Spock shows emotion now? Like, did they change? Did they go back in the past and like give him more human DNA so he's like more like his mom and less like Sarek?
No, he went totally fucking emo.
Yeah, you know that Michael Burnham is his adopted sister, right?
Yes, I knew that one.
Okay, so we find out that Michael Burnham hurt his feelings.
How?
Well,
fuck it.
Because she didn't want to be his big sister.
Okay, well, I wanted a puppy, but I had two sisters. So, like, get the fuck over it. You're Spock.
No. You see, you don't understand.
He's Sheldon, though. Now they're just writing him like Sheldon.
Spock couldn't get over the fact that Michael Burnham didn't want to be his big sister. I'm not making that up. This is actually
had worse problems.
So yeah, Spock was really upset about that. However, by the end of season 2, we do find out that Michael Burnham tells Spock, and she becomes a prophet at the end of the season. For out of the blue, Michael Burnham becomes a prophet and tells Spock to find Captain Kirk.
And we totally disregard the fact that he has a brother too. They have not mentioned once.
Yeah, they haven't
They
mentioned
don't know he
Cybok
exists.
though.
They never saw
They
that.
don't know. They didn't watch the movie.
Because this is what we figured out, and this is why we figured out they are able to do this kind of crap and they just keep
No,
doing it.
they only watched the cage.
Yeah, they
By
grab
the
the
way,
DVDs.
Hard.
Yeah, they grab the DVDs. They watch the very first
didn't
episode.
get
They're
the
like, "Oh,
DVDs.
I've seen enough." No, they got them sent to them in the mail by Paramount, and Paramount's here you go. Watch all these. This is what you need to watch, and they watch one episode.
Well, the funny thing is that now, because I know some people were like, why didn't they mention Cybok? And I've said this before, but I think what could have been an interesting motivation for Spock's resentment of Michael Burnham. By the way, Anna, despite the fact that I'm saying all this negative stuff, Spock was actually not a horrible character in most of season 2 of Discovery. It wasn't until the end that they completely crapped on him.
Mm-hmm.
But
he was talking back to her a little bit.
yeah,
well, they ruined
some of the
ruined
best
him with
stuff
the emo shit anyway. It didn't matter. The moment they turned him into
Shit.
he went and flipped out because of all the stuff that Annie Trekker just said. He went and flipped out, had like an emotional attack, and like supposedly killed a couple people. They totally disregarded that crap too, didn't they? They like
no,
sent
they
him
found out it was Ford.
Like how
Yeah.
old was he though? Like in Starfleet or like when he
yeah,
was
this
still-
is when it's taking place like 8 years before the TOS.
So
10
he's 10 years for season 2.
roughly. Yeah.
So but then he wouldn't be in Starfleet if he murdered people.
Well,
and
no,
killed them.
he was framed. So it's
He was
okay.
framed.
So he didn't kill them.
Right. he
Yeah,
did
it was this whole big stupid thing, and then he went on the run, and then they find him, and he's got a beard, and he's all sad.
But Spock wouldn't go on the run because he would be. When he killed when he thought he killed Captain Kirk, when he was in this, mental distress, he was ready to turn himself over into the
I know
authorities.
it makes no
this
sense.
is younger Spock. He's not that mature yet.
It doesn't matter.
He needed Mikey Spock to make him better.
Right.
See, that's what they needed. They needed to make him damaged so she could fix him.
Right. But
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
But I honestly think, and this could have worked as far as the Spock being damaged goods
This hurts.
and having Michael involved would have been that if
I'm
because
sorry.
like a lot of people notice, Cybok's not in the picture at all. We never see they never mention Spock had another brother. And so what if the reason that there was a rift between Spock and Michael Burnham was because Michael Burnham, growing up in the household with Spock and Cybok, and she was closer to Cybok's age because Cybok was older than Spock and Michael was older than Spock. So she was closer to Cybok's age, and she convinced Cybok to embrace emotions, which is why Cybok became an outcast and was basically excommunicated from Vulcan society.
But that makes sense.
Right. So Spock lost his brother because of Michael Burnham's actions, and that also set forth the motivation for Cybok in Star Trek V. That actually would have fit into the canon and would have made a lot of sense. But instead, it's just because she didn't want to be his big sister that he couldn't take it.
Oh, so it's not that he didn't want his sister; it's she didn't want to be his sister.
Oh yeah, he totally wanted her. He was following around.
Yeah,
like
he
a
loved
puppy.
her. She hated him. He worshipped
What was
her.
her problem?
She's a bitch.
But everybody loves her. She's the bestest ever. But I know it makes no sense whatsoever. Trust me.
But why? I mean, because the little bit that I watched, which I really like the actor that plays Sarek, and then Sarek is one of my favorite characters in Star Trek. So that was one of the reasons why I think I watched it for so long, because I'm like, okay, it'll be interesting to see, because I liked the whole dynamic between him and Spock, because the Journey to Babel is my favorite Star Trek from the original. But I'm thinking of that whole scene where he was telling her that he didn't let her get into the Vulcan Science Academy because he wanted Spock to have the chance. And so is that why she has resentment, or is this something that
No, this happened when they were kids.
Why wouldn't she want a brother? She just lost her entire family, and now she got
Because
adopted.
she was afraid. She because Michael always has to do stuff for virtuous reasons. The reason she didn't want Spock to be her little brother was because she was afraid that the Klingons would come after him to get to her.
That's stupid.
Yes, I know, but that's the reason.
Welcome to Discovery.
Oh, by the way, one thing we forgot to mention, since you said Sarek was your favorite character, Sarek in season 2 apologizes to Michael Burnham for being too much of a man. I'm sorry.
All right, that's enough of that.
I
This is
wonder
great.
why I'm depressed talking about Star Trek.
I know, right? TechCom sent us $2. Says I'm streaming with OG Star Wars Saturday and is invited. Well, that's good to know. So,
I will be. I posted this, and I think I talked about it in a couple live streams. I'm gonna go go to that meet and greet with Vic Mignogna on Saturday.
Yeah, we met him down in Vegas. He's really nice.
Yeah, he's a sweetie.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm like, oh, cool. He's finally in California, so I'm just I need to call the place to see if it's okay if I film while I'm there. And because I don't know how long that line's going to be. But the place that he's at, I'm like, why on earth would they have it here? It's like a box, and it's like the smallest collectible store ever. And I'm like, why? Because, I've seen pictures of the line to meet Vic Mignogna. So I'm like, why would you have it there? Why wouldn't you have it at something like Frankenstein's, which is like basically a giant warehouse that's like a indoor flea market but like everything cool and nerdy and like magic and Star Trek and Star Wars and sideshow. It's like, why wouldn't you have it there where you actually have room for this long line? I don't know. I don't know, but that's what I'm going to be doing on Saturday.
Oh, I do have to tell you that I forgot about this. Thank you, Darth Maul. Is that there's another thing that Michael Burnham is afraid of, and that's the Vulcan terrorists. They're called logic extremists.
I saw that, and
so it's laughably stupid.
Yeah.
I think I know they're not stupid.
You might think 2 + 2 = 4, but we really think that 2 + 2 = 4 because we're logic extremists.
Okay, guys, I always forget which one this was in, but remember when I feel like it's not Picard, but when they go to Vulcan because they're trying to uncover that thing and you find out that she's actually Enterprise. Okay, yeah, there we go. She's actually like an evil Vulcan and she wants to go back to the animalistic ways. And then there's that whole little.
She was actually the good Vulcan who was trying to return them to the ways of pure logic, where the council was corrupted. But don't worry, it's all so we know Sarek apologizes for being a man. Michael tells Spock to find Kirk. There are logic extremist terrorist Vulcans out there that apparently blow things up.
Monkey Spock is the best. Kumbaya. Matt G sent us $2, Rob.
Matt G, $2 US.
Rob's playing GTA. He's been playing video games for an hour.
Probably.
I don't cover Star Trek Discovery because I don't watch it, and Geeks and Gamers doesn't cover it because nobody. I don't think, at least to my knowledge, I don't remember meeting anyone on the G&G team that was a Star Trek fan or that watched too much.
That's my fault. Jeremy asked me, I'm like, I don't know if I want to make Star Trek videos anymore. Because it was so heartbreaking dealing with all of the Discovery shit lately.
It's dropped off anyway. All interest is really kind of dropped off for the new stuff.
They've killed it. They have killed it. They are going out of their way. People like I know, like known CBS kind of shill people. Those people. They're like, oh, here's an article. Here's an article. Nice. I'm not going to make a video for 1,000 views. Sorry.
Well, not only that, the article you showed me was like over a year old almost.
Yeah, somebody sent me that, and then they reposted it today. That article of we've got these this marketing expert team of people, the brand experts, franchise experts. Yeah, their job is just to get on social media and tell us we're all a bunch of racists and sexists, and tell us how we're all or how Next Generation was terrible in the first 2 seasons and everybody hated it. So that's all their job is.
Not a banned account. Send us $1.99.
Could Picard have Michael redeem the Federation? Oh, it's all.
That's what it's setting up for.
She's the key to.
She's the key to it all.
She's the key to everything.
My head hurts.
No,
it's all
new track.
Can somebody just like bring in Q and just have him like go, oh, gotcha? And
do you know how many times we've said that?
Oh, this is better. Snap. Yeah.
I'd like just give. When he gave Riker like the ability to be omnipotent, I just feel like I volunteer as tribute. Let me fix this.
I'm gone for 2 seconds and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, that. By the way, there's a great moment in Discovery season 2. I got to tell you. Do you know who Tilly is? Right.
The ginger.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, she's
Tilly
to be but to be fair, now Tilly, not trying to be mean, but she's a little heavy set compared to most of the rest of the crew.
Well, I think she was pregnant throughout the last part of that
She's
second
a
season.
normal body weight, but a little.
Well,
They were trying to hide
I'm not
it.
saying that she's horrible, out of shape, but she's obviously not as fit as many of the rest of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
And so in
exactly
season 2, this actually happened. She's participating in a marathon. And during the marathon, a ghost shows up to talk to her.
A ghost?
Well, don't worry, they explain it later. But so she stops. Remember, she's in the middle of a marathon. So she stops.
Race, yeah.
Yeah, she stops and talks to the ghost for like 2 minutes. Now, while she's stopping, of course, everybody else running the marathon continues on past her.
So we're talking about Star Trek, not American Horror Story.
Right. So after she's done talking to the ghost.
Oh, is this the one that yells at her?
Yeah. The ghost yells. Remember, and then eventually they get the ghost out of her. But yeah. Anyway,
Tilly. Oh, fuck.
So after she finishes talking to the ghost for like 2 minutes and everybody else has continued on down the road, she then starts running again. She wins the marathon and sets a new record time.
Of course.
Before she yells at Captain Pike, right? Is this when she yells at Captain Pike and she snaps
But why
at
was
him?
there a ghost?
Because it's in her head. Because
it was an alien ghost monster from the Spore Network.
That was the spore that landed on her.
I'm not making that up. That's what it was.
I feel like you guys are fucking with me, but
no, we're not. I wish we were, and I feel horrible.
That was the most annoying character too.
I feel like you're never gonna come back now because you feel like they're just telling you a bunch of horse shit. But they're not.
So they cast this cute girl of Indian descent, so she's screaming at her, "Silly Tilly," in the most stereotypical accent ever. And I don't know if she was putting it on even worse than normal, but she's just yelling at her for the whole thing, and she gets verbally abusive with Tilly, because she's like, "Oh, you let me die. You didn't talk to me when we were friends and I was a kid." And
that's the other thing, is that there's this whole thing where they give you this sixth sense moment where you finally realize that this girl's not real,
not a person, but
yeah. So yeah, Tilly has a ghost friend. So now Anna, the moral of all this is just to let you know that as a diehard Trekkie, a person who has been a fan of Star Trek since the late 60s, and knowing what's happened with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I can honestly say I feel your pain. Because Star Trek has been crapped on just as bad, if not worse, because we've got 2 whole seasons of The Last Jedi, and we've got another one coming, plus Picard. So, and a stupid cartoon. So,
2 stupid cartoons.
Oh, the cartoons looked like they were right for Pixar. Like this is Star Trek now. And they retconned Michael Burnham and the tardigrade thing all over again.
Yeah, there's 2 cartoons coming. There's a kids cartoon coming in Nickelodeon, and then we have the adult-oriented cartoon from the guys who worked on Rick and Morty coming. Yeah. And that's one of the only shows that looks like it's actually going to give a shit about any kind of canon.
Oh, God. Who drew this?
Which one? Are you probably looking at the a Lower Decks show? Yeah, it looks horrible. But at least the people who are making it, we were like one of the few people at the panel, like literally Rob and I and like one other person.
And Trek Yards.
And Trek Yards. And then
like the book question chick.
Yeah, there was like one other person besides that, who actually got to ask a question because nobody else was there. And
it was all YouTube people.
Mind you, all the other panels, including some of the technical ones, had people lined up around the way, because the way they had it, they had people lined up around the outside of the venue thing. And they were always lined up all the way around. And this time it was like nobody was there. Nobody cared.
To be fair, those could have been lines for the autographs, so because they had the lines for the autographs.
Well, they were wrapped around usually. So yeah, to the point where you couldn't tell where the autographed one ended and the ones where people were asking questions began.
Yeah.
To where it was like it was always, a constant rotation of people but this time it was dead. Like nobody cared. And these were the main people making the show too, and they were showing
the producers, the writers.
Stuff. Oh, and don't forget Section 31. Is that still happening?
That never was happening. That's the one that
has never been pushed forward yet.
They've never had a series order. They want one.
But I do like the fact that all you got to do is walk around and say, "Yeah, I got one of these, so I'm covert ops."
Everybody, it's the worst kept secret.
The USS Cerritos? Really?
If you have a black badge, now they don't wear the black badge because that would be showing off it. So
even
they
though
just
everybody
carry it in
knows
their
about
pocket.
Section 31.
Yeah, and they'll say, "Well, who do you work for?" "I'm Section 31." And get this. If you're on the Section 31 ship, so you're wearing your black badge instead of the regular badge, right? Guess what? This is of course before the original series. They're communicators. So they had communicator badges 100 years before they were invented.
The show makes me want to kill myself. I'm so tired of Star Trek.
All right. I was gonna say you're gonna make Anna cry. Dark Side of Light 84, $5. The power of Tilly's butt cheeks gave her the extra boost of speed. I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole.
This is like when I would bring my friends over, like when I was a kid and I had all my toys, and then I would try to explain to them, okay, this is this character, and this is this character, and then they would play with them wrong. I'm like, no, Spock wouldn't do that. No, and
no, but Spock would now.
My head hurts.
What was the one we?
Welcome to Star Trek Recovery.
I know.
That's literally what we called our show.
It, but everything that you're telling me, it's like I don't believe it because
it's so wrong, isn't it? And then people have the balls to say, "Oh, well, you just haven't given Picard a chance." I've seen what the rest of the stuff was. Why would I give it a chance? Am I so stupid to forget the last 2 seasons of Discovery, every article, the convention where I was told by Jason Isaacs about the IST in the White House? I was told by Wilson Cruz to vote on a gun control bill that he was too fucking lazy to look up before the panel. And I was told I had to be more inclusive by a woman who thinks that Benioff and Weiss should be replaced by a trans person of color because diversity.
What? The best part of the whole thing is every single member of the newer shows was all talking about how woke they were and how much better they were than every Star Trek before. And then it was, what is it, Peter Billingsley's name is?
Oh God, I love him. Peter Billingsley.
Yeah,
Dr. Phlox.
And Roxanne Dawson said it too.
Well, she's so classy anyway. I mean,
oh yeah.
He jumped and said, "Oh no! Star Trek's always been inclusive." But not only that, Dr.
Von Armstrong even said it during the Rat Pack show.
Yeah, so you had a little bit there where there was this back and forth between the classic casts and the new cast. Like they were boxing it out here and there for a little bit. It was getting kind of funny, but this has just turned into some big political brouhaha. It's like when did this happen? The breath of fresh air was getting Shatner. He at least came out and you could tell, it was a pre-prepared kind of thing. He obviously kind of had a little bit that he had set up and then he took questions and he did his thing, but he didn't really.
You can line up to the microphone and ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
well, even Kate Mulgrew did, and she even said, "Oh, is this some of this millennial stuff?" Yeah, I haven't watched Discovery.
But they even had what's her face, who played
Janeway.
Who played is it Dr. Crusher? What's her face?
Yeah, Gates McFadden.
Yeah, she was even up there apologizing on behalf of, everything on the show, because there was this episode where there was the entity that was in the one body spirit and she fell in love, and then when it went to the woman, she didn't, and it was so she was apologizing for that, saying that, oh no, she still should have been in love, and I feel bad about that, and I should have pushed for it more.
Why? You're just gonna go for a pussy now?
Not attracted to women. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know. It was come on, what the fuck is the problem with this situation now?
Right. The funny thing is, it's not homophobic to say I'm heterosexual.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yes, it is.
I know, but that's the problem. It's they're actually making it out to be, if you're not homosexual or bisexual, you must be homophobic. That's like the only other option.
You want about 500 messages by the end of at least 200 probably because we're only got that many people watching. But you want about 200 messages by the end of the night calling you a transphobe. Say you'll never date somebody who's trans.
I'll never.
Do we want to talk about the Saved by the Bell reboot?
Someone that's
I know, but now you'll get a bunch of hate mail because of it. I've had it happen, and it's not even me saying it. What?
Tom, do we want to talk about the Saved by the Bell reboot? Where
we'll get. Yeah, we probably should now that I brought that up. But let's do these super chats real quick first. Get the link for that for Rob. Darren Wagner sent us $2. They use sonar in space in STD too. Yeah, sound in space now.
What? Sound doesn't travel in space.
I know.
It's Star Wars, though, so it's okay.
I know they don't even follow standard science.
No.
I'm so sorry. And then the last one we got here was from Captain Hare. He said, "Random tangent. Remember when Dr. Crusher had ghost sex?" I think we were talking. That's what we were talking about.
She didn't have ghost sex. It was Deanna that had ghost sex.
Oh yeah, that's right. When she became pregnant or whatever, and then it wasn't that with the
Deanna was banging the candle
was
ghost.
Weird alien just showed up, went into her junk, and she got pregnant. With Crusher, she actually had sex with a ghost.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, the candle guy.
Yeah,
and her grandmother also banged him. So
yeah,
you.
So yeah,
I mean,
so I'm not saying that the old Trek shows didn't have their bad moments. I mean, come on, the original series had, and the children shall lead, which is just so awful. I refuse to watch it, but it was the occasional bad episode that made you appreciate all the great stuff.
Yeah.
But with Discovery, it's not even that like, oh, this episode is particularly bad. It's just that the entire premise of the show, everything about the show is ill-conceived to begin with. And when you have a rotten foundation, it doesn't matter how beautiful the visual effects are or how beautiful the cast may be. Well, if you have a rotten foundation, you have a rotten show. And that's
right. Well, yeah. Here's a perfect example of where they do have pretty people and they do show them off for the most part, but doesn't save the show. And no, Hugo, it's not the 5 steps of grief. It's the 5 steps of good grief. That's the problem. It's like, is this shit's that bad? And of course, he banged all of the Crusher women. Yeah. Is that why they're called Crusher? Oh, that was a bad dad joke. But anyway,
I never violated the Prime Directive.
I'm sure we've taken up so much of Anna and Michael's time here already, and Mecca surely has things to do as well. Oh no, don't ask Nikki T. What does Brie Larson think of Star Trek Discovery?
She doesn't probably know it exists.
I like science. I like the little kid on the show with the alien. Oh, is that the wrong one? I don't do Star Treks. I like Star Wars. I want a lightsaber.
Isn't Discovery like the one that has that lesbian guy?
Yeah.
Oh, then it's good.
I'm pretty sure it's woke, so it's okay. I want a lightsaber. Have you ever seen that, Anna? Where she's like, I need something in my hands. I want a lightsaber.
No, let me find it.
Oh my good God, Gertie. But yeah, we got this other story real quick, and then we'll show that, and then we'll get out of here. They have a transgender actress in the lead role of the new Saved by the Bell show, evidently.
Her tits aren't big enough. Boo! Show us your tits! Woo!
Wait, so was this person born a man and is a woman, or was born
a boy?
Okay.
He was born a boy, was acting, and at 16 decided to transition.
Okay.
So
and is this person
is 18 now? Show us your tits.
There you go.
Take it off.
A picture of this person. Okay, so what's the point of the? Is it just a virtue signal that she's transgender?
Yeah, I think so. Just
what does your character
talk
do?
about it? It's the most popular girl in Bayside High.
That wouldn't be a thing in high school.
So they're letting
Nope.
a man take that away from a woman now?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
did I just say? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
Show us your tits. Woo! She doesn't have enough.
I want
Well, I
proof that she's
I
post
have
op.
Yeah,
friends
I want
that,
proof that
you
she's
know, are going
transitioned.
through transitions, but I mean, still, that's not what it's like. You're not going to become the most popular person just because you're going through a transition. If
You are now.
Yeah, you still have to be pretty.
you're going to be. Well, I mean, I have a friend, and yeah, she was born a man. She's becoming a woman, and I mean, she's gorgeous, and I feel like that's one of the things is because when you're trying to make up for that, you do extra. Like she'll get her nails done, she gets her hair done all the time. I don't even do that, but I mean, when we're around each other, like she looks like a Barbie doll, and I'm over here in sweatpants and like a Star Wars t-shirt. But it's one of the things is that she does that stuff to make her feel more feminine because her body doesn't make her, and she's had surgery too, so she always has this sense of like dysphoria, and that's a really like she goes and like sees like a group of people that are going through this, and it's like they're very unhappy because they have that sense of dysphoria, and they feel even though like nobody can tell that she's not a girl or that she wasn't born a girl. Like no one would know if you didn't ask her, she didn't tell you. But she has that thing that when she goes outside, she's like, oh my, like when you kind of get like a pimple on your cheek or something, it's like, oh my god, that's all anyone is looking at.
Well, yeah,
she says that's
what I
the
was
thing,
wondering.
they feel that way. So seeing stuff like that, it's like I don't believe it because also it's high school. People are freaking mean in high school. You don't give me this shit that she's going to be the most popular unless she's the most outgoing person ever. There's still going to be people that hate her. And so,
I got a teenager. Schools are so fucking woke now. Even
I gotta say,
they
my
are
son's
so
19,
woke.
and yeah, it's a different environment than when I was in school.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, your brain isn't even fully developed until you're about 25. So you don't develop the part of it that can kind of give you good long-term decision making. That part of the brain isn't even there. You don't have it. You can't say, hey, if I get a tattoo, it's going to be on me forever. You cannot predict the consequences of your actions. And let me pull that up real quick because I do have an article on that from which hospital is this? Which university? It's an actual, like, real legit study here. URMC Rochester. It doesn't matter how smart teens are or how well they scored on the SAT or ACT. Good judgment isn't something they can excel in, at least not yet. The rational part of a teen's brain isn't fully developed and won't be until age 25 or so. In fact, research has found that the adult-teen brain works differently. Adult and teen brains work differently. Adults think with the prefrontal cortex, the brain's rational part. This is the part of the brain that responds to situations with good judgment and awareness of long-term consequences. Teens process information with the amygdala, amygdala. This is the emotional part. In the teen's brain, the connections between the emotional part of the brain and the decision-making center are still developing and not always at the same rate. That's why when teens have an overwhelming emotional input, they can't explain later what they were thinking. They weren't thinking as much as they were feeling. Now, are we supposed to be offended that they allowed somebody who is 16 to transition without proper mental stability or without like growing up first, without being an adult?
Well, I said this once on a show, and that's what first spurred me getting a bunch of hate from people.
Well, no, because like I'm like legit confused. Am I supposed to be supportive or am I supposed to be calling child abuse now? Because
remember,
what are the rules today?
If a 5-year-old wants to transition,
and this was my argument too. Is like, okay, yeah, I get it. 16-year-old is a little bit different, but still, like you just said, and see, that's older than I was always told. If I go back to my psychology class, we were told women generally mature and started using that other part of their brain between the ages of 17 and 19, and men generally between the ages of 21 and 23.
Okay.
But that's even older now, which, and you know what else this makes sense now? We're raising a generation of a bunch of teenagers who are going to continue to be teenagers for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And that's what they act like. And I'm seeing it.
I mean, I feel like, because I mean, my sister, like all the stuff that she does now, I'm like, and I mean, you know, I only have one left, but I mean, I'm just like, I look at her and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And she just turned 21, and I'm absolutely horrified because I'm like, what are you doing with your life? When I was 21, I was graduating from college. I was moving down to, you know, Southern California to start my life. And it's like, she's not even near that, but she's in this phase in her mindset that everything, she's the victim, everything. And she's got to, oh, well, and you can't say anything because she's like, oh, well, I'm sad about Ellen. And I'm like, well, you were acting this way before Ellen died. Like, what is going on? You got to take responsibility for your actions at some point in your life, because and I thought, this is my thing. I'm like, I thought you were smart. I really did. But the things that she's doing, and then the people that she's around, and like the way that they talk, they're freaking clueless. Like, I think they were talking recently about, oh, well, and I tried to avoid politics like the plague,
Right.
But one of the things is she's like, oh yeah, well, like because of, you know, Trump, I got less back in my taxes. And I was like, no. You got less back in your taxes because you were working in Portland and they have all of these programs which you didn't use. So when you got your tax return, when you were living in Portland and you filed taxes in Oregon, you got a lot back because they took more out of your paycheck. Now you're in California, you're living in Modesto, you're working at this job where, you know, they don't take as much out of your paycheck. So that's why when you got your tax return, you didn't get as much back. And then she's like, you're this, and this. I'm like, no. You don't know my politics because I don't discuss it. Even with my family, I don't discuss it because it's just not worth the headache. And I'm like, no, I'm literally just explaining to you how taxes work, because for whatever reason, this is back when she was 19. I'm like, you're 19 years old and you don't understand. And I get it. Taxes are hard when you're first starting out, but still, it's like,
that's the mindset of everybody
on this if you don't understand it. Sorry.
Oh yeah, well, you hit it on the head, right on the head. Yeah,
that's the generation, though. Everybody in that kind of generation, almost. I see so much of it on Twitter. They just yell and scream. They don't understand anything about anything yet, and they just want to go right to the TDS. They want to go right to bringing in politics that have nothing to do with it.
Right, and like Anna was saying, they automatically they're the victim of something, no matter what it is. And I see this across the board, like I said, with my kid and his friends and all. It's like a mentality they all go by. And Matt G sent us another $2 and said, MEAD is finally covering Saved by the Bell MEAD is covering Saved by the Bell finally. Welcome to what Saved by the Bell is probably going to be all about now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm not going to watch it anyway.
These kids are. They're stuck on these political things they don't understand.
They're not even old enough to fucking vote. Maybe they should keep their damn mouths shut and
I got in trouble for saying it. You know, if I was allowed to transition into whatever I felt like I wanted to be when I was a kid, I'd be a fucking dinosaur. Okay, I'd be a T-Rex running around. You know, they got pissed at me for saying that, but it's fucking true. Kids don't know what they want one day to the next.
Kids are fucking stupid. Don't let them make life-altering decisions. They're fucking stupid.
Mulan, and I was obsessed with like Chinese culture when I was little. So you see, I mean, nowadays if I were to wear that kind of stuff, I get labeled as, oh, that's cultural appropriation. But I had like all the traditional like Chinese outfits, and the first time I went to San Francisco, I just wanted to go to Chinatown, and I wanted to have surgery to make my eyes look like Asian because I thought that, you know, Asians were beautiful. I still do, but I wanted that. If my parents would have let me gotten my eyes, like eye surgery to make me look Asian when I was a kid, could you imagine?
You'd regret it, because not only would you just, you know, it probably wouldn't have turned out the way you wanted it, first of all. But even that aside, can you imagine the backlash? Can you imagine the backlash you'd be getting from people in society as soon as somebody found out you weren't really Asian, or if it didn't look right and they knew you did something to try and make yourself look that way?
Is transgenderism gender appropriation?
I would think so, but it doesn't matter. You're not supposed to bring it up. And look, to be clear,
I'm not the one making the rules. I'm asking a question.
No, I know, but to be clear, I got to point this out, and I got to say up front, it doesn't matter what your political stance is. Doesn't matter what my political stance is, my religious stance, my belief on any of this shit is. If somebody's 18, they have the right to do whatever they want to their own body.
Yes.
Okay.
If they're 16, they can go fuck themselves and won't have a.
That's what they should be doing instead of anything else, really. You know, anybody who has a teenager knows that. I'd rather they be fucking themselves in their room than doing something else, because then I don't need a grandchild already. You know?
Parents were always just like, if you want it, you have to pay for it yourself. So it's like I waited until I was 18 to get my first tattoo, and I paid for it myself. And well, actually, I think I was 20 when I got my belly pierced when I was 18. That was my big thing when I turned 18. I was like, oh, I can get my stomach pierced, you know? But the thing was, like, my parents were like, oh, you want a car? Okay, save up money. You got it. And also it's like, you don't just have to buy the car. You have to pay for gas. You have to pay for insurance. With my sisters, they just got it handed to them. I was like, what the hell is this? I had to pay for all of that. And still, like, my sister's 21 years old. She's not even paying for her car. She's not even paying her car insurance. And I'm like, you have no responsibility. You can go and virtue signal all day long, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm not going to take you seriously because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem, is most of these kids think, and that's the problem. And I've said this many a time, even at parent-teacher conferences and other places. I've never seen a society so stupid who have every answer in the world at the palm of their hands.
Yeah.
If we had this, and of course you can't see it because I don't have a camera, but if we had this, the phone that I'm holding in my hand when we were kids, we'd be the smartest motherfuckers in the world because we'd know the value of that. These kids don't know the value of what they have in their hands. And we're going to share that, Mecca. I do want to see that video.
Yeah, I know, but
hang tight on it.
Yeah,
just, no problem.
Tell me when it's ready, because
no problem. Yeah, we're gonna get to it here shortly because.
Well, I know we need to wrap it up here. But I do want to say one positive thing, because I know that we've said a lot of things that
kids are great, though. Don't get me wrong. They want to do the best they can.
Kind of broke Anna, and I just
that too.
Yeah, and so I want to cheer her up just a little bit here.
Okay, thank you.
Story.
Let's see.
I know you're obviously a massive Star Wars fan, also from the Bay Area of California. So I actually, one of the most incredible movie going experiences of my life, I got to go to the world premiere of The Phantom Menace. And so it was at Jack London Square. I'm sure you know where that is, in Oakland. It was an incredible event. And so we got to go in, hobnob with all the movers and shakers that were behind the movie. They had this beautiful buffet, this multiplex cinema. They closed down the snack bar and they just put in this incredible buffet. And you got food and stuff, and then you went and sat down and watched the movie. We go in to watch the movie. Now, you remember The Phantom Menace, I'm sure. You're that Star Wars girl. If you didn't remember The Phantom Menace, you would not be a very good that Star Wars girl. So you remember how they're trying to get past the blockade, and the ship is damaged, so they have all the astromech droids come out and get on top of the ship and try to fix it. All right, and so you got the tension building because they're trying to get around, but the ship is broken and the astromech droids are trying to fix it and everything. Well, the coolest thing is you're gonna love Star Trek Discovery, because now the Enterprise does that too.
Do I hit you now or later? All right, let's get past that.
And of course, Tom can verify. Am I making that up, Tom?
No, you're not. But you're trying to kill my guest. And
well, it's just honestly, that Star Wars guy. I'm a fan of what you do, so I got to pick on you a little bit. But and so it's just an honor to be here. And if I completely shatter her brain tonight,
you're gonna make her head explode on live YouTube, is what you're gonna do.
Then there's a good chance that she'll actually mention me, like on one of her videos, and that'll get me some more. So that's
as the person that killed my soul in a stream.
Yes.
And I've done a lot of like streams where my soul has they have me crying on stream because my friends John and Cecil convinced me that Baby Yoda was gonna die.
Oh, jeez.
And I was crying, I also was drinking.
I could probably get Mecca to do that
made
too.
It worse. And then
I wouldn't do that to her though.
I was totally convinced that Baby Yoda was gonna die, so I'm not watching this damn episode. And they're like, "No, you gotta watch it. We're teasing you." I'm like, "No, you're not. You proved to me that Baby Yoda would die."
Yeah, I will say this: everything I said about going to the world premiere is absolutely true. That I did get to do, and that was a lot of fun. It's just, I did have to throw in the jab about Discovery, because they actually do have astromech droids now in Star Trek that repair everything that gets broken.
Of course they do.
Well, Anna, the only way Baby Yoda dies is if they let Ryan Johnson direct an episode of The Mandalorian.
If Ryan Johnson directs an episode of The Mandalorian, not only will Baby Yoda die, but Baby Yoda will die by like gang rape or something. It'll be just like the most horrific thing possible.
Actually, you got to subvert those expectations.
Yeah.
We have audio of Ryan Johnson on the set of The Mandalorian because he paid us to visit the set, and this is what he had to say.
I hate that stupid puppet.
Oh, Ryan.
I know he's so full of himself. Okay, so let's see something funny. Mecca, you got that video handy?
Yeah, I gotta
I'm trying to figure out what that look is on Anna's face. Is that like
It's like a disgust / trying not to laugh at the same time kind of thing.
It's like my soul. My
With
soul.
remorse.
Oh, I think I've seen this one.
Oh, this is hilarious though.
This totally off topic. This just drives me crazy because her hair is up, half down, but she's got. They didn't put this little thing, so it's like doing this weird thing when you look at her straight on, and I'm like, just put the whole damn thing.
And I'm a straight guy, and I'll say this much. I know this much about women's hair. A woman with that big of a forehead, you don't do that to her hair.
No.
You don't. Okay.
Of being a Jedi is you get to build your own lightsaber. Crazy. I was like, what? I just have things coming out of my hands. Like I need a lightsaber.
So hurt. I need a lightsaber.
she has things coming out of her?
She's so whiny.
In my hand.
It's like if you want a lightsaber, go fucking build one.
She's a perfect example of this generation where everything is everybody else's fault.
Yes, that's what I was gonna tie it all around.
And they
to
want
it.
everything. They feel like they're entitled to everything.
She wanted free Disney fucking Plus. Bitch
You
makes
got $5 million from them already. I think you can afford the year subscription.
Wait, she doesn't want to pay for Disney Plus?
No, she asked for free Disney Plus, which she probably already gets and doesn't realize. I got it free already.
$7?
Yeah, I know.
She can't afford to pay $7.
It's like $4.99 for the basic pack.
Yeah, you live there. You should know that's the way most of these celebrities are. They don't pay for anything. That's why they stay rich. They go into anywhere and everybody hands them everything. And then when they're nobody, that's when they don't have no money. Well, that's when nobody will give them anything. But yeah.
So then they end up doing a Sharknado movie to pay the mortgage.
I guarantee everything that she's wearing in that interview that we just showed, I bet you she didn't pay for a single thing. It was all given to her. Her makeup was done for free. Her hair was done for free. Her ride there was free. Or if not, they paid her to wear that. They paid her to come. They paid her to do everything. And they're like, here's the outfit you're going to wear. Here's the makeup and everything was paid for. And then they paid her on top of it to come. So she can't afford Disney fucking Plus. I mean, I don't pay for Disney Plus. My friend gave me the login because my stepdaughter wanted to watch the Spider-Man cartoon. So instead of dealing with her bugging me about Spider-Man, I was like, just give me the login so I don't have to go.
I can afford it. I can afford Disney Plus. Trust me, honey. I got tons of money. My problem is I don't know how to pay for it.
Smallest violin in the world.
I don't know how. How do I get it? Where's the Disney Plus at? Where do I purchase it?
You know, the sad thing is that, and I bet you, like 10 years from now, everyone on this panel will probably be doing, YouTube may not be around, but we'll probably be doing some kind of commentary or something where we're doing this kind of stuff still and enjoying the heck out of our lives, and hopefully all of us making a decent amount of money. While we'll on Entertainment Tonight, they'll be doing the Where Are They Now for Brie Larson, as we find out that she's like a meth head lying in a gutter somewhere at that point.
Or she's had too much plastic surgery she can't even move her face.
Yeah, she looks like Caitlyn Jenner now. Buckle up, buckaroo,
But you'd be surprised though, but a lot of celebrities do have everything taken care of for them by agents or whatever. There was a story one time, different medium, different field, but same idea. Andy Pettitte, pitcher for the New York Yankees, his wife had a kid. She was in the hospital. She had some minor complications, and he got the cable bill. And he said to somebody in the clubhouse, "I got a cable bill. What do I do with it?" And they said, "Andy, write them a check." He had no idea how to even pay the cable bill. That's because he said everything's been taken care of, travel plans, everything. Over the.
That's why I was only half joking with the Brie thing. Like, I don't know how.
It'll be funny though, because in that 10-year future that I'm predicting, Brie will be lying in the gutter somewhere. That Star Wars girl will walk by and see her and say, like, "Aren't you Brie Larson?" And she'll be like, "Photon blast!" want a lightsaber.
No, when I see, because I learned, I'm like, do not make eye contact with the homeless or the druggies that are tweaking out on the street. Don't make eye contact, just ignore them. So that
it's going to be kind of hard to ignore, Brie Larson with 3 teeth left, wandering down the middle of the street yelling "Photon Blast."
That's true.
She'll be standing in front of
Yeah, she'll be on a reality show. She'll be on Celebrity Wife Swap.
She'll be standing in front of the Chinese
self-partnered. She'll swap with Emma Watson because they're both self-partnered.
No, she'll be standing in front of the Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, wearing the Captain Marvel costume, and people will say, "Oh wow, they got someone dressed up as Captain Marvel from that old movie. I was Captain Marvel.
I'm Captain Marvel." They want me to play Stinky Cheese, but I think that's enough torture of Anna tonight.
What is Stinky Cheese?
Don't ask. You really are going to ask that question after all that I've put you through? You're going to ask that question?
At this point, it's like, what else?
Okay.
Stinky Cheese.
You need to know the history before you get into the ballad, though. See, Brie Larson, before she got all Captain Marvelous famous, she had a boyfriend, and her boyfriend was an aspiring Johnny Depp wannabe musician.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a real true story. Okay, that part's true. Okay, and then she did break up with him, like right after she got super marvelous famous. Okay, so that part's also true. So we picture this guy wrote this sad ballad after he lost Brie.
Closing it out tonight. I get
it. Stinky Cheese.
Stinky Cheese.
And the other part of it is, I don't know if you've ever seen her feet.
Yes, I have. I have fetish where it's like if I see people's feet, it's like I want to groom them.
Okay, so as long as you get those two things, then you'll probably get most of this, I guess. All right, we'll leave tonight with Stinky Cheese, the Ballad of Brie. Today I'm talking with Adam. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that. That was an interview. It has the same beginning.
Wow, I never even looked at her feet. She has some messed up feet.
Where the hell did it go? Did I lose the Brie song?
Oh no! You hyped this up.
Oh my god!
No, I'll find it. It's here.
Oh my god!
It's here.
Yeah, she should not be wearing open-toe shoes. Holy cow!
Is that really what her feet look like?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay.
She already looks like
I found it. I found it. Don't panic. I found it. Can you hear it? Can't breathe without breathing. No, I can't breathe without breathing. I had everything, and now I'm down. Cause you had to go and be everyone's hero. Captain Marvelous, Brie, why'd you leave me? Can't you see I can't breathe without Brie? Oh, I'm breathe without I'm missing feet. Oh, smell like sticky cheese.
Steak cheese, they're so ugly, but they mean the world to me. Oh, breathe, please breathe, bring back without breathe. Steak and feed, breathe. I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe without breathing. Next to me, stinky bring back your steak to me. Stinky, 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 stinky cheese. Stinky, 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 stinky. Stinky, 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 stinky cheese. Stinky cheese. I'm bringing it back, stinky cheese. Stinky cheese. Bring your stinky cheese to me.
Nah.
That was Alex. What's his name with Sticky Cheese?
Alex, what's his name?
I
Anyway,
was expecting you guys to do like what Phoebe did in Friends with Smelly Cat, but like with stinky feet.
kind of, sort of, but different. I need to redo it. I threw that together so fast. You can barely hear it. I understand. Yeah, the beginning part's all fucked up. But people are like, you need to put the lyrics on screen. I'm like, yeah, I just need to redo it so it sounds better. I did it to make it sound like it was shit, but I'm like, we played it enough times now. I'm so embarrassed by it.
You should just, if you redo it, have like a little music video and just like have her picture that's like constantly changing for her various facial expressions.
Have her head be the bouncing ball for the lyrics.
Or use her foot. Get her.
Yeah, use her foot.
No, who wants to look at that? Oh God, Rob will make it happen. He'll end up making a video full of her feet.
Oh.
Everybody will think he has a foot fetish. I think with that, I think that's a good sign of it's time to call it a night. I think we've tortured Anna enough, and I apologize from the bottom of my heart.
Oh God!
You guys didn't make this stuff up.
No, we didn't.
No, every word is true.
All that crap is true.
I'm sorry, Anna. But
And you can watch it for yourself. I mean, that's up to you if you want to waste that much of your life. But.
I would, there's enough bad things in the world. I don't think I need to watch that.
Hey, what's better than Star Trek Discovery? Watching a guy get a kiwi out of a vending machine in Japan.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
That's like literally what I'm watching.
I figured something like that. So let's bring this to a close. We want to thank Annie Trekker as always for showing up here on Wednesdays. Do check out Annie Trekker's channel. And as always, Mecca is always here hanging out with us, being our Robin to our Howard Stearns. That is Rob. So check out his channel as well. He does have another one of those. And me, of course, I'm here and Midnight's Edge. And of course, a special thanks to Anna for popping in and saying hello to us and gracing us with her presence. Do check out her channel as well. So we're going to let Anna get some rest. We're going to let Annie Trekker rest his bum knee. And we're going to let Rob watch some porn and let Mecca watch some guy trying to get a kiwi out of a vending machine. With that,
actually, something got stuck in the vending machine now.
Oh, it got stuck. Oh, no. Somebody. Oh, shit. Now you got to send me this link here.
It got stuck. It gets stuck at 5 minutes.
Rob, give me some music. Give me some music, Rob.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. Annie Trekker, Anna, that Star Wars girl. For Tom, Mecca, and myself. We'll catch you next time.
Ah, damn it, not again!
Yeah, watch all my videos, people. I made like 5 of them, but nobody watched.
Yeah, go watch mine too.
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.